Hey, everybody, we're back with Dodcast, episode 11, I believe we're on now. Or maybe it's episode 10. No, it's episode 11 for sure. This week, we've got technically two special guests. One of them is the guest host, and then we've got an actual special guest. The host we've got is, of course, J-Rod.
Sup?
And, and the special guest we've got is, of course, Corey Price.
What up, what up?
In the house. So, very special episode this week. Heading into playoffs, regular season finally done and over with after it seemed like years. You guys feeling the DOD just burnout yet?
I'm definitely feeling burnt out in DOD. I'm
Yeah,
ready for the
definitely
season to be
getting
done.
Yeah, pretty much same.
Yeah.
Ready for a break for sure.
Right.
Especially after playing 3 matches this weekend.
Oh, yeah. It's a marathon, seriously. I can't even imagine. I mean, I guess we're going to end up having to play 3 matches like in a row, too, coming up. So,
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be like a mini draft day.
Yeah, exactly.
Some BO3's coming up.
Yep, which should be interesting just to see how that all plays out with everybody. I think we got the updated stats page to check out here. Let's see. Get that bad boy up for everybody to see. Oh, I think I already got it up. Just have to fix this. There we go. Give me them stats. So, this whole thing we got here has added in some kind of new mathematical equation to quantify players' actual performance with some sort of equation.
KTPR.
KTPR. I believe J-Rod is the mathematician behind this.
I am not. I did some number crunching, but that's it.
All right. That works for me. I think it's some combination of like flags, kills, deaths, KD, all that stuff taken together. Something like that. But just kind of gives like a regulatory rating to everybody in the end so that, I mean, you can still sort in if you want to just see your KD ratio or who has the most flags. It's B's, not J-Rod.
Ooh.
Sorry, J-Rod. He did, and I think with one less match too, unfortunately.
God, he's nuts at cap.
Yeah, he is truly an elite flag capper, it turns out. But yeah, I mean, everybody should go take a look at this stuff. It's pretty cool the way Modger's got this all taken care of all season. We even got like the full season summary here. J-Rod lost by 2 flags overall. Silver medal.
So I have the equation here.
Oh, okay.
It's your kill-death ratio divided by the average kill-death ratio plus kills per half divided by the average kills per half plus 0.25 and then flags per half divided by average flags per half.
Okay.
Equals your rating and then divided again by 0.25. And
Nice.
That's how the rating gets sorted.
Damn, man.
That's some math.
Yeah. Oh, I just realized Corey's over here in the top 5 flaggers too in silver.
Oh, there I am. Look at that.
Yeah.
And I've only played 8 games, I think.
Oh, so you have one less map played too.
Yeah.
That's always tough to come up. I know Jared was mad that he didn't finish in the top 5 kills and he had one less match played.
Yeah, he was real upset.
Yeah, he keeps bringing that up. Technically, he has the in the top 5, what was it, kills per half or something? Something like that. But yeah, so this is all really cool. It's kind of like a war rating from baseball and stuff like that. Everybody go check that out. See where you fell for the season. Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. Thanks to Matt for that. And whoever figured out that equation in the end, I'm not entirely sure.
I think it was Jules.
Jules, okay. Yeah, I think you're right. I'm pretty sure you're right, at least. Oh, shit. Whoops. I don't think that was... Actually, you couldn't see that fully on the screen, but it's fine. There's more you can see it yourself.
Everyone can find the link for it.
Yeah, I'll post it. And then the other thing that everybody wanted us to go over was the map veto process. So I think, yeah, we just got examples of it right here, which, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Whoever's the higher seeded team bans a map, lower seeded team bans a map, higher seeded team bans a map, lower seeded team bans a map. Whatever's left, the higher seeded team picks the side. That's for a best of 1. So very straightforward. You just ban. And then for a best of 3, well, you go higher seeded team ban, lower seeded team ban. Higher seeded team picks a map, lower seeded team picks the side. Then lower seeded team picks the map, higher seeded team picks the side. And then there's only going to be one map left over out of the 5. The higher seeded team gets to pick the side for that last one.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, pretty straightforward, I think. I don't know. I think that they were talking about some other, like, more complicated version of doing it, which was, it seemed interesting too, like having you progressively ban out all the maps each round, which would give you, I guess, more control over what maps get left over. But
I needed that explained to me
yeah,
4
me
or 5
too.
times
Me
until
too.
I understood what was going on. But
Yeah.
I think this is simpler.
Right. It took me quite a while to understand what he was getting at there. And there is, I found this kind of cool tool if people want to sort of like sit with their team and go over potential ban or veto processes. I can post this somewhere. It's a first source, this page, but you got Anzio, you got Harrington, you got Lennon, you got Thunder, and then just put in Rails for Railroad 2. And then choose best of 3. And then it gives you 2 links. One is for your team, and one is for your opponent's team. Oh, shit. And where am I? There we are. No, I'm not. There it is. Go Thunder, start banning, go T3, start banning, and then it's like this. You can go like, we would ban,
Oh, interesting.
Anzio. And you hold it down, and it X's it out, and then it's T3's turn to take a ban out. And, they're going to go Harrington, because they clearly hate Harrington. And then we're going to go Railroad 2, because we hate Railroad 2. And then they're getting rid of Thunder. Oh, look at that. We end up playing...
Lennon.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, wait. I messed that up, actually. I banned... So those first 2 were bans, and then we picked it. So I messed that all up.
We've already messed up the process.
Yeah, just ignore me in the end. Just ignore me. Go do it yourselves. You'll do it better than I did. I had to mess it up somehow. Okay, so I think that's all the laundry to get out of the way, and we can get into the oh-so-fun portion of the show where we've got about 30 matches to recap. So I just got to swap this bad boy back over to the Discord where all the lovely screenshots are. Where is it? There it is. Oh, what the hell? I'm so confused. Transform, stretch to screen. There we go. So, getting on with, wait, is that this week? That is this week. Okay, I got to go all the way back up to the top and find where this started. Not there, not there. Where was the 3v3? There it is. Okay. So, right off the bat, we had Washed Up versus Sleepers, which I believe was a makeup match. Washed Up won 134 to 126, which is ridiculously close. Oh, no, this wasn't a makeup match. This was on Railroad 2. So this was actually a match from this week. I didn't get to cast this, so I didn't get to see it at all. Did either of you guys see this match at all?
No.
I did not see this match.
Yeah, so we're going to have to speculate a little bit here.
There were so many matches I couldn't keep up this week.
Yeah, seriously. I was out on, I think it was like Friday night, and I came back to like 5 messages from different people being like, are you here to cast this match at this time tonight? And I was like, no, I wasn't here. My bad. But it looks like, so Vanna Key, in his return back to the lineup, of course, really good Axis half. Sleepers with the win on their allied side. That is such a close match. Wow.
Yeah, 10 points on... Is that Railroad 2?
Yeah, Railroad 2.
That's super close.
Right? That's like reminiscent of the semifinals loss we had to T3.
Looks like Jirea had to drop out and come back in.
Yeah, oh yeah, 7-7. No way that was without leaving. What did he... Yep. That's unfortunate there. So his score on the stats gets a little bit messed up by that. Bullet, I'm guessing, went train, I would imagine. And then again...
14 deaths?
Yeah, that's true. Just score-wise, it looks like he must have gone train, especially with a loss on the half. There's no way he was in apartments, only with that score.
Yeah.
You get to play against these guys a lot, Corey. What do you think about some of these newer players like Secretly and Arachnid here?
Oh, man, they're great. They're surprisingly tough to play against. You can't drop your guard against them at all. Like Arachnid, Secretly, Bromley, the War Within. I mean, and Defrag, obviously he's been around forever.
Yeah.
But it's a really tough team, and they play a little bit on the slow side, like half of the players, and so it's a hard combination of you can kill their aggressive people, and then if you get aggressive, you get killed by someone who's not being aggressive.
Yeah,
and it's a you have to think through the match the entire time you play against them. You can't just run around fragging. It's difficult. I always walk away frustrated after playing a match against them.
and you did play a match against them this week too, which we'll get to. I know.
Yeah, we did.
That was a fun one to watch for sure. But you're right too with their whole play style. Like with their heavy team, War Within takes a push whenever he can, and even if you get him, like it's a matter of checking everywhere for bullet fodder next, because you know he's more than likely going to be prone somewhere, if not just crouched in a corner. Like he will be going full, like as passive as he can to hold that route. So you can't let your guard down for a second.
Yeah, it's pretty smart play. It's like I said, it's frustrating, man. And then they have fraggers too that you also have to contend with. So it's a team that has both things.
Secretly seems really good.
Yeah, he does. He was a pro in Rainbow Six before, and just came over to DoD. And I mean, you look at it at the start of the season up to now at the end of the regular season, and he went from like he'd show flashes of it to now he's like top fragging for them every
he's
match.
Consistently performing.
Yeah. He really, really figured it out. I mean, DoD, obviously a game that, like, it makes sense in a lot of ways with the mechanics. Like, if you stop and shoot and you're aiming, usually the bullet goes straight. Right. Usually.
I think it's relatively the same in Rainbow Six, too.
Is it? I've never played it, so I have no idea.
I played it for a while. It felt easy coming from DoD, so I imagine it's kind of similar mechanics.
Nice. Well, that makes even more sense than how quickly he was able to come over and figure it out. I didn't know if it was one of those things where the game sort of like doesn't punish you for just running straight forward and shooting, stuff like that.
Is he? I could be wrong. Isn't he from Source? He played DoD Source?
Is he? Is secretly so? I thought he was a Rainbow.
I believe he is, but
yeah,
I thought he had some background in DoD. I could be wrong about that though. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask how he got involved in it.
I could be wrong about that. I'd like to find out.
I thought I heard that, but I could be wrong.
I have to get him on.
That would make sense though, as he just jumped in. He's like pretty good.
Right. Yeah, I know for sure he was a pro Rainbow Six player at very least. I don't know how Bullet would know him, I guess, though, if he didn't have some involved. Like, maybe he knows Arachnid from Source, and that's...
So, Arachnid just said he was a good Source player, so he did play DoD Source.
Nice.
I thought I heard that.
That makes even more sense then. Wow, okay. So this whole time I thought that he was just going straight from Rainbow Six with no prior knowledge.
That'd be an odd jump to jump back to
yeah.
3.
Yeah. So that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, that's cool to know at least, because I've been wrong about that all season. I've been like, this guy, all he ever played was Rainbow Six, and then he's DoD. So wrong. But yeah, so that washed up, looking really, really good, headed into the playoffs. They had more matches this week that we'll be taking a look at, but unfortunately for Sleepers, they have a couple of rough losses in a row. I can take a look at the standings here so that we can see where that puts everybody. I could probably find a better way to do this, but instead I'm just going to take my sweet time. There we go. So, I mean, I don't know if it was after that match, but obviously we can see here in the end, Sleepers fell behind, washed up, and Love Me Not. Certainly that loss, obviously, is what did it. Washed up with that one-game lead over Sleepers at the end of the season. So if Sleepers takes that match, they swap spots there. Unfortunately, the guys couldn't do it, obviously. Big fan of Sleepers here. I'm always cheering for them. I do love watching Washed Up play, though. Like, seeing new players come into the game for me is super exciting. So, like, just seeing Secretly and Arachnid come over and be big X Factor players right away is really, really fun. This whole Silver top 5 is just so stacked and close. Everybody can beat everybody. Obviously, Corey's team here is reigning supreme right now, and I'd say the clear favorites going into the playoffs.
Clear favorites.
Yeah, but there's been a lot of close matches. It's cool.
I have confidence, but I also recognize that, like you said, all the top 5 could beat us. And without much problem either. Like, it could definitely go against us real quick.
Right.
So I took Sleepers and Love Me Not and Washed Up and No Go real serious, and they're tough people. It's not an easy team to beat. Any of them.
And it's like a lot of the time it's map dependent too. Like, there's some maps, certain teams, it just feels like I know for us, there's maps where it feels like certain teams we just can't beat them on.
That's correct.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have some strengths and some weaknesses that people can capitalize on for sure
Yeah.
with different maps.
It's tough, but it's heading into playoffs. I always find that to be like one of the most fun storylines when you've got like a really close set of teams at the top, where it could be just like you don't really know for sure who's going to do it. Like there wasn't just an undefeated team that beat every team by 1,000, although that point differential is insane.
Even
Whew.
Fast Loris beat us in a scrim right after we beat Love Me
Oh,
Not, and pretty handedly by like 150 points or something like that.
damn.
So like they've improved a lot. All the teams have actually improved like a ton since the beginning of the season, which has also been fun to watch.
Yeah.
I think everyone's been getting better. Everyone's been scrimming, and teams are now playing better together, especially on particular maps that they've practiced a lot on. Like, it's a lot better, I think.
Yeah, you love to see it. And I mean, like for J-Rod and I, we played against CIS in a scrim when they first started playing 1.3. And going from that scrim to where they're at now is so crazy to
It's
see.
night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I rang for you guys against them like a couple weeks ago, and they were really strong.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. Like, I mean, that's what pays off with a practice regimen like they have. And it's been pointed out too, Corey's instructional videos on how to play maps and going over nades. Like these guys.
Yeah. Everyone's watching those.
Yeah.
Everyone's knowing how to do everything. Those are great.
Yep, they're taking full advantage of that.
Yeah, I was a little worried that it would just, but like if we're not all in the same playing field, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Like we should still prove like who's better, like mechanically, but people should have like some general knowledge of how to throw set nades and how to peek certain areas, and I just wanted to make it a little bit more even playing field for everybody.
Yeah,
I think it's great. I mean, you couldn't have done that, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Now you can just easily record something and throw it on YouTube. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I grew up watching like Counter-Strike. When I wanted to get into Counter-Strike Go, I watched so many videos on how to throw smoke nades, how to throw pop flashes, like there's so many good material out there.
Oh, absolutely.
But DoD's so old, like we never did any of that stuff.
No,
so
it was all kind of like you heard it from friends, and you had one person teach you something, and they would then teach maybe someone else, and word of mouth and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. I really do. It's the kind of things that, like, in 2000, like 4, 5, 6, 7, those years, it was the kind of things that you wished existed, and they just didn't at the time. Like YouTube, was YouTube even a thing yet at that point?
I don't even think it was a thing, yeah.
So these are things that, like, back then, there was a select few people that knew all these things, like, especially with nades. And I think that comes into play on certain maps where it's changed the whole dynamic, like Harrington in particular, where only a few guys on any given team like knew certain nades, like nading over long to mid. So everybody knowing that now, it really evens things up when it comes to, like, you can't just get away with capping mid and not being sure about where the other team is going to be on other routes.
Right.
Or
like even nading big window from long.
Yeah.
Jared taught me that. Tox taught me that like semi recently. Like I didn't know how to throw that till like a year ago.
I still can't even throw it. Even though I know how to throw it, I still mess it up sometimes. It's crazy. But it's been a really, really valuable tool, and you can see that in the development of a lot, not even just teams, but individual players too. Like the people who have taken the time and put it in to try to get better at the game, it's shown. So that's really awesome to see.
I'm just glad people are watching them.
Yeah. As soon as I saw that starting to come out, it was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a hit, because there's a lot of new players. Like, surprisingly, in 2022, there's people who have either never played at all or never played competitively, so they just don't have that baseline to work with that the rest of us that have been around forever had. So that was a really, really valuable tool, I think, for a lot of players and teams. Let's see here. What was next? But yeah, just to finish that off one more time, it was 132 or 134, 126 for Washed Up. So I wish I had seen that. I didn't. Looked like a crazy game. 8-point victor in the end for Washed Up, and that iced them in at second place heading into the playoffs. So good game to those guys. What's next here? Okay, we got No-Go versus Bedtime Now. This was on Railroad 2, so it was another one. No-Go won 185 to 160. Let's see what we got for lineups here. So it looks like for No-Go, it was Apple, Dedro, Matthew, Ken, Fincher.
Apple just went off on his allies.
Yeah. This actually, pretty good segue. MVP of silver for the week right there is Apple with double check here. There it is.
Nutty.
Yeah, he had 80 kills.
Whew.
Wow. So 47 on allies. He must have 33 on Axis. Good God. And who played for bedtime now? Here we got Caleb, of course, Sean, Chewy. That's Paul?
Kuhn.
Okay, that's Paul.
Yeah.
And then Kenny and Beluga. I now know KN stands for Kenny. I didn't know that.
Kenny. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. I had no idea, and in the match I casted to them, someone kept saying, "Oh my God, you killed Kenny," and I didn't know that they were referring to him, so I just ignored it.
That's funny.
Big whoopsie on my part. But yeah, Apple went off. It looks like, wow, Fincher had a really good STG half on Axis as well. Man.
Yeah, he's very good with the heavy.
Whew, 37 kills with an STG on Railroad 2. That's no easy feat. Apple with 33, Matthew 33, always rock solid. No-Go pulling it off without Spoon again this week. They've been missing their number one guy.
Ken top flag in there.
Yeah, attaboy, Ken.
14.
Ken getting back into competitive play. You love to see it.
I love Ken so much.
Yeah, Ken is awesome, man. It's so good to have him in the community again. When I first got back, he wasn't around, so seeing him popping up again is awesome. But yeah, No-Go getting it done there. Where did that? They ended up in the standings. Let's see here. Fifth. Okay, yeah. So they end up right at the tail end here with Sleepers. I believe they actually might have played each other in... No, they played each other twice last week. Never mind. So we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, they ended up with the 5th seed, which I believe is the last seed in this portion of the bracket. And Bedtime now with the 1 win at the bottom of the B bracket in silver. No-Go had a really voracious start to this season, and they were, I think, like 5-1 or 4-1 at one point. And then guys just started not being available. I know Spoon wasn't available a lot. I think Yanni has I don't even want to say this because every time I say Yanni is unavailable, it turns out I'm wrong. So I'm just gonna leave that.
I think he's unavailable now, but
he might be.
I wouldn't say
he's on vacation right now.
Okay,
for sure.
Okay.
So yeah, a couple weeks I think. I don't know how long.
So he won't be playing in the upcoming match.
I don't think so, unless he brought his laptop.
You never know.
He's relaxing out there somewhere.
Yeah, good for him. He deserves a vacation. He's a healthcare worker, and that is a stressful job, obviously.
Yeah, he's for sure stressed out. It's a tough job.
Right. I really can't even imagine that. But, No-Go ends up getting into that upper bracket portion of the playoffs, and they can hang with all these teams, too.
Absolutely.
They're pulling off wins with, just using basically anybody who's around, not having their, original starting 6 in. It would be really nice if they could get Lurf back, too, just to give him that extra option at sniper. I'm not sure how likely
that'd be a good
that is.
sniper option for sure.
Yeah, well, when he was on their team, they got really tough real fast, and I was starting to worry about him for sure.
Right.
He really rounded out their team in a big way.
Yeah, that, who do they play on Thunder? Was it you guys, actually, maybe?
I don't remember.
I forget. He came in for a Thunder match and sniped his ass off.
Yeah, I think it was against us.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
There it is. Yeah, and he was sniping against Recoil.
Tight match.
Yeah, that was a really, really good match. I remember it being this is a cool sniper battle. Let's see Lurf versus Recoil. Recoil, one of the top 2 snipers there in silver, and Lurf, an old hat invite sniper, obviously been around forever. And they both had amazing allied halves, if I recall correctly. And it's kind of interesting because Thunder plays the opposite of Donner in that regard, where Axis half is harder to snipe a lot of the time. And you can just kind of see it in a sniper when they get onto that Axis side, where it's I just can't get anything done. I'm stuck in my second flag. I can't get to loft. I can't get to mid house. I'm just locked in here. But on their allied sides, both of them played incredibly well, and that had No-Go looking like a real scary prospect.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't have especially that team that doesn't really have a weak player or anything. They're really solid.
Right, they have a nice full roster of players that they can slot into a couple different spots, which is always nice, that they can rely on to actually be there and play. Which is key because you see it a lot. There's a lot of ringers playing in matches all the times because teams just don't have a deep enough roster for it. So it's good that they have a lot of people they can rely on in that lineup and roster to be able to show up on a moment's notice.
Yeah, for sure.
And J-Rod, I mean, you kind of like coach that team a little bit with Tony for a while there. You got the insight into that team too. You've ringed for them in scrims a lot, so you've been on the inside with No-Go from day one this season. So I'm sure you'll be cheering them on headed into the playoffs now.
Absolutely.
That's your people. I was gonna say that's your boys, then Sapphire's on the team too. I always, for like just a generalization saying like the boys, but I don't mean that in the actual like gendered sense. It's just the team. I gotta remember.
The guys.
Yeah, like the guys. It's just a bad habit of mine. But yeah, that was a good close match. Only a 24-point win there for No-Go in the end, but I don't know. Yeah, 185 to 160, Apple the MVP. We can move on to the next match now because I know I get too caught up dwelling on everything. This match, I'm going to save because this was a big one. This was a big one. This was the match of the week, technically, right? Even though it's a makeup match.
Yeah, that was definitely match of the week.
Yeah, so I'll go on to this next one, which is Moose Knuckle versus Bedtime Now. Let's take a look here. Do we have the score? 322 to 222. Moose Knuckle with the victory there. That was, I believe, their first win of the season, if I recall correctly. Yes. And I actually casted this one. It was the first time I was getting to see Bedtime Now play, which was nice. I try to cast every team as many times as possible, but there just really hadn't been an opportunity for that yet. But yeah, so really interesting to see some of these guys play that I've never seen before. OS was a beast with the car. I think he had a good allied half too.
I've met him at a pub before.
Really?
He was quite good. Yes.
He is good, man. He had 30, it looks like 31 on allies. So yeah, he top fragged overall for sure. There's a couple ringers playing for Bedtime Now there's just one in Toki, and then Hopper was playing for Moose Knuckle. But there was just a lot of really crazy stuff going on in this match. Like, this first half is so close, and then second half it got a little bit more out of hand, and Moose Knuckle took kind of a commanding lead. But it was fun to get to see all these players play that I hadn't really got to see play much yet. I've only been able to do one match of Moose Knuckle, and this was my first chance to do a Bedtime. Now, obviously, they've only been in the league for like 3 weeks now, but
yeah,
which has just been unfortunate. There hasn't been a chance to cast, but seeing what all these players are made of was really, really cool. And, it was a really close matchup. Like, even with the kills and everything, you got a feel for who the big stars are on this team. Moose Knuckle was missing Duality and Quack Duck, I know. Obviously, we all know how good Duality is. He's been around forever. Quack Duck was like their star player at the beginning of the season.
Quack Duck's amazing.
Yeah. So that could have been, an even bigger difference maker for them had they had those two guys. Of course, they did have Hopper ringing, which is a gold player, so that kind of levels it out a little bit. But yeah, just lots of really impressive play. Bo on Allied side, I saw hit some. I think he one colted a guy from like the back of long into underpass, like around a corner, basically. It was insane. And then on Bedtime Now, Kenny was hitting a lot of ridiculous sniper shots. Luca was a crazy sniper, like crazy heavy. Those two were hitting just so many nutty shots. Toki, of course, looks like he top fragged overall, I believe. Yeah. And it was just, I don't know. I don't know if you guys, did either of you see that match? It was kind of like.
I did not see this match.
Yeah.
I saw bits and pieces of it, but I didn't watch it all the way through.
Okay, yeah. It was kind of like a random, I think it came after I just casted another one. It was just kind of like on a whim. It turned out that there was another match to be played, and I was like, hell yeah, I'll cast it.
That's nice.
Yeah, always fun.
Kenny's really tough to play against. The few times that I've played against him, he's a really good sniper. Like, kind of underrated, I think.
I think so.
In silver.
Yeah.
And even Chewie can pop off every once in a while, and she can be really tough.
Yeah,
as a rifle.
Her Garand and Stas recoil is actually crazy. Like, she controls the recoil on both those guns really, really well. That was like the first thing I noticed. The first life that I saw was of her, and her Garand recoil was like as good, like mine. Even with that high ping, like that should be so hard to do, but she's got it down pat.
I don't even bother controlling the grand recoil anymore. I just let it do its thing.
You and J-Rod are the same there.
Yeah, I can't control it.
No. J-Rod gives himself extra recoil, it looks
I
like
push
sometimes.
it up.
Yeah.
You push it up.
Yeah. Does it with the car, too. You'll see it's like, if he just let go of the mouse, the car would go up like that. But when he's doing it, it goes up like that. Extra style points.
I don't know why.
Just trying to make it look cool for the movie clips in the
Hell
end.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was, it was just a fun match all around. We have like 9 more matches to do still, so I got to stop talking too much about every single little thing. That was Moose Knuckle over Underpowered in a makeup match on Rail Yard as well. 322 to 222. And we'll have more to say about both those teams going forward as well later on in this show. What was next here? So this one we had Fast Loris versus CIS. And this is a pretty interesting matchup here, too. This was actually a Railroad 2 match. Fast Loris won 166 to 59. I did not get to cast this one either, so I'm going to be speculating in a lot of spots. Looks like Luca played for CIS here, too. Nice. Let's see who we had big performance-wise. Hey Hi has been going off every time he plays.
Yeah, he's a great player.
Yeah, Norbert is a stud. I think he had like a 49 kill half with a car last week on Lennon.
Wow.
Yeah, just a monster. Yeah, Stamp there with a 35 on the bar. Red Dog as well, 34. That heavy team was on fire on Railroad 2, it looks like. Stealth, always just so reliable on the sniper rifle. He'll give you, even 35 kills. I was going to say, I'll give you like 30 kills and 20 deaths, but he one-upped me there with 35. Laura with a good half there on the car, 24. Out fragging Hey Hi. I'm not sure what the routes were there, so I don't know like if Laura was going long or apartments. And Hey Hi going 4-way. Stamp, another good half on the heavy there, too, 29 and 20. And on CIS's side of things, Luca, who was ringing 32 with, I'm assuming, the bar. Fyro has been popping off lately. He's been kind of like catching up to Riley Staffer and Hong Kong Mafia.
Yeah, he's been super tough to play against. I mean, he's really come like a long way.
Right?
It's hard. Even Azilla, he has my number for some reason, but he one-taps me in the head with a Grand or Stoss every time I look at him.
Same here. Every time I've played against that guy, he shits on me. I just can't kill him. I don't know what it is. Him and Riley Staffer both have my number.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for CIS, though, they didn't have Riley Staffer for this match, that is for sure like their big dog. I the first time we played against them, I couldn't believe how many kills he got. As far as I knew, they had never played DoD before, and Riley Staffer just came in and got 60 kills against us in a Harrington scrim, and I was like, who is this guy?
I believe we were heavying together.
Yeah, we were.
Yes.
Me and J-Rod getting just absolutely annihilated by Riley Staffer and Azilla on Harrington.
Yeah, that was crazy.
He just rolled over us. So would have helped them for sure to have him. Luca looks like filled in for him, did plenty. Can't fault him there, or say if they had Riley Staffer, they would have won. But in the end, another match that I would like to see because it ended up pretty close, and I enjoy seeing CIS's progress from week to week. It's really, really cool. Hong Kong Mafia has turned out to be one of the best snipers in Silver.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Even on the stats too, he's just on the eye test and the stats, he's come such a long way from the beginning of this season, and just another cool one to see. And yeah, just all in all, looks like a really good effort by Fast Loris, rounding things out, heading into the playoffs. You got to figure that in the B bracket, they're the favorites to take that title. But what you could end up seeing this as a finals matchup in that bracket, honestly.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, especially if they field Riley Staffer and
right, all their big guns.
I'm impressed with Red Dog too. He's also come a long way. I think he started the season a little rusty, and he just shook that rust off pretty well in the last few weeks, I think.
Right, it just took getting those hours in. Once he had that getting that repetition and the muscle memory back, he just picked it right back up. It's tough at first, especially depending on how long it's been since you've really played regularly. For me, it took me I don't know, I'd say at least a couple months before I felt even close to normal.
Yeah, it's tough. You have that phase where the grenade feels like it's just going through jello. You're
yeah.
What if you still don't feel normal?
You'll get there eventually. I
Hopefully I'll
promise.
get there eventually.
You'll get there.
I like seeing Ryan Twist in there too. It's
Yeah.
fun to see him back. That's a good solid DoD player that
Right. Oh yeah.
I'm glad to have back, you know.
Been around forever. Such a good guy, just all around. You know, when I saw him first come back, I immediately went and like sent him a bunch of emojis and everything. He's just one of those guys that's nice to see around again. Always been a great guy. There's no one who has anything bad to say about Twist, I would say. Just a really great dude all around. But yeah, that was Fast Lores 166 over CIS 59. Oh crap, I think that... Okay, now we go back to these other couple matches here. Where exact? There we go. Okay, so first of all, we'll go to... Where is it? The Harrington match. Washed Up versus Price is Right. There it is. That was a 291 to 190 point victory for Corey and the Price is Rights. Big victory there against Washed Up because they were like hot on the tails with the win here, and then there was obviously another match to get played like the next day or something where Price is Right needed to win these two matches to clinch that first seed. Actually, I think just needed one maybe. I forget now, but
yeah, I don't remember either.
Yeah. But it was a big one, though, and you guys got it done, obviously, here in both of them. But going on Harrington versus Washed Up, I got to watch this one. This was a really fun match. So, Defrag here with the 41 bomb on Allies after he had a very tough start on Axis. He ends up 17 and 33, but I think at one point he was like 5 and 15 or something.
Whoa.
Yeah, like took him a little while to get going, but he responded very well by coming out and getting 41 done on Allies. And holding mid a lot when you guys were pressing them. You in particular were just like everywhere, it seemed like, in this match. You're flanking from long, and they just couldn't seem to get you out of there a lot of the time on your allied side. Your nades always were on point, and supporting Dillard and Recoil in mid especially. You know, you guys just looked like a well-oiled machine. Bullet on Mountain... I know ended up, second top fragging. Secretly was on pace for like 45 in the first 10 minutes. He slowed down a little bit. But, Bullet played really well, holding down Mountain and stopping you guys from capping out potentially even more, which was nice to see. So a vintage Bullet fodder performance there. You know, just...
Classic.
Yeah, go proning out upper Mountain, getting a couple kills, then proning back out to the staircase. Like, he just finds the most absurd ways of getting the job done a lot of the time. Truly. Allen played... so it was Allen and then Hey Hi filling in for Taylor. That heavy team did a great job. I'm sure, obviously, you'd love to have had Taylor there, but Norbert did an excellent job filling in for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Hey Hi is awesome.
Yeah, always just so reliable. He's a very dependable player. And he can play any class too, really, which is nice to have too. A little bit of versatility if you got him ringing for you and stuff. Allen with 61 overall, damn.
Dang. Yeah, Allen's gotten so good.
Attaboy.
I mean, he's had Matt Rogers and Taylor as coaches.
Yeah.
So, like, you can almost not ask for anyone better.
Really, truly. That's so much experience and skill and two different play styles as well. So he's kind of got the best of all sorts of different types of a heavy. And he's shown it. Like, you'll see him sometimes just run around and be, like, fragging 3 guys in the head, just standing. And then other times you'll see him, like, he'll get a kill and then he'll kind of like fall back and relocate to a new angle and really try to outplay guys mentally. And yeah.
Yeah, and if we need him to do some sort of role filling, he will just do it. Like, he's not gonna. He has a lot of focus in that regard. Like, if we need him to be like running and fragging, he'll do that because that's what he wants to do. But if we need him to hold and we tell him like you got to hold this, he'll just sit there and just do it. Like,
yeah,
it's a lot to ask for a player, especially one who wants to go running around fragging.
Yeah, he's like the J-Rod of that team, basically. That's what I'm thinking of when I hear that. It's the same kind of thing where, well, J-Rod will do it when we tell him to just like kind of play passive, even though it's the most anti-J-Rod thing to do. And not everybody can say that. There are people who will not do it because they'd rather just be running around. Or there are people who just don't know how to do it. And having that kind of role player who is not only like willing, but also able to do it and make an impact still is really helpful.
Yeah, it's pretty major. And Yeah, I don't know. Our team's kind of fun because we rotate a lot and we kind of like we have really good communication. There's no like in team drama or anything, so
Yeah.
we have good communication. We rotate around each other's positions a lot. It looks kind of chaotic, but there's some sort of like plan to the madness.
Yeah. That is something that's always interesting to watch, that kind of team play style too. You see it with T3, kind of a similar thing where it might look like messy, but there is a method to it where like you guys know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and the communication is what's behind it. But without the communication on like an HLTV, it just looks like, nobody's going around. But in reality, like that is a calculated level of chaos.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Which is kind of my play style anyway. I like to sow chaos in some ways. So
Yep. Oh, I know.
Be where you're not expected,
Yeah. It is something that it can be an X factor in this game a lot of the time. Just that surprise, where you get so used to people's thought processes and what they're most likely to do on a route, and just being able to throw a wrench in that and change up the pace a little bit, catch guys off guard, can really be something that can like be the difference between winning and losing a close match in certain maps and routes and stuff. It's really something that's good to be able to do, and not everybody can do it. I can't do it. I'm so stuck in my ways of like, I throw this nade, I peek this spot, I do this, I do that. I wish I could. I used to be able to do those kinds of things, but I don't remember how anymore. Like I see everybody else, like you and J-Rod, do it, and I'm like, that was a good idea. And then like I get into that moment, and I just default back to muscle memory, and I'm like, maybe I'll wait. Like they'll come to me eventually.
That's fair.
So boring.
But yeah, I was worried about Washed Up. Like they definitely have the ability to upset us if the cards get played right, and they're all really good players. So I mean, even look at this allied half. Like they destroyed us, 10 points in kills. You know what I mean? Like, and score. Like they're a very strong team, very difficult to play against. So it's definitely a team that I worry about when we go face them.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real curious to see how that the matchup between them and Love Me Not plays out. Obviously, Washed Up beat Love Me Not on Harrington in week 1 too, so they are no slouch on Harrington, and that's gonna be a big one to see who ends up going on that side of the bracket, and then you guys will be playing the winner of No Go and Sleepers, which is another like. There's no easy match in that division at all anymore now, which is going to be really exciting going forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
War Within, I should also point out, too, because I feel like he hasn't gotten enough credit this season on the heavies. Like, I don't think that he was a heavy before this season. Well, maybe like in the last 2 seasons now, and he seems to have figured it out. I don't know if, like, Bullet's kind of been giving him the tutelage behind the scenes and stuff, but he's dropping a lot of kills in a lot of matches. It's very impressive to see his transformation over the course of the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I feel like he gets a lot of chances to get kills because of Bullet will play a little slower, and he'll push up and he'll have those opportunities to make big plays and stuff like that. It's a good heavy duo because like one person's holding it, one person's pushing it.
Right. Yeah, it is the perfect mix. I feel like that is the way to set up your 2 heavies together in the end is have one of each style so that you always got things covered. It's like the old Thunder having Spec Ops and Ryan together, where Grant would play like Bullet, so Ryan could run around and do whatever he wanted, and we wouldn't lose that route that they were on because you could rely on Grant to always be somewhere that he would catch them off guard, be prone, let them run by, shoot them in the back, etc.
Yeah, I remember people making fun of Grant for that.
Yeah.
I think he didn't like it.
Probably not, no.
Where is he? Why don't you get him back? Why isn't he playing for you guys?
Oh, he's back now. He is.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he got a computer right around. Actually, the computer that Ryan's using is Grant's like second computer. So when he heard that like Ryan was going to come back and Grant was sending a computer, Grant was like, I'll come back and play too. So now they've been around like every day since Ryan got that computer sent to him. Nice. It's kind of hilarious.
It's an iconic heavy duo right there.
Yeah, I love it. It's funny watching them scrim together because they still have that unspoken thing where they just kind of like know what each other are going to do. Even after, 10 years or whatever. It's crazy.
That's rad.
Love to see it. But yeah, that was a huge, huge win for Corey and Prices right there. 291 to 190. And we got another one, bringing it right back to Prices Right with what ended up closing out that first seed for the playoffs here. 213 to 141 over Love Me, Love Me Now.
Match of the week?
Yep, this is the match of the week. This is like the match of the season right here. Everybody was looking forward to this one. They already played, obviously, on Solitude, which went Love Me Not's way. Solitude, a bit of a random map, though. You know, it's not a map that anyone has to worry about in the playoffs. This was going to be the one where it's like, all right, they're clashing now. Clash of the Titans. And it went the way of Price is Right, obviously. Corey had a baller Axis half, I will say right away. It seemed like I was calling out your name throughout this entire cast.
Thanks. I seem to be a Blue Room specialist.
Yeah, you do. You were all over them on Blue Room, like just getting 3 and 4 kills at a time coming out of blue, just being a nuisance to them where they couldn't feel comfortable at their own first flag ever.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good way to cut the map in half. Because
It
if
is.
I can hold them at the white stairs, then they have a hard time getting into apartments, hard time getting into mid. Like, it changes the dynamic of the map a lot.
It does, big time. And
It's,
then
it's a little ratty because I'm just
it
hiding
is.
and sound whoring.
That's okay though. That's the way, you know, like competitive DoD. That's how we all end up playing at some point. You know, based on maps. Like some maps I'll play where I just want to run forward. Some maps I'm like, I'm gonna just hold here because I don't really like what's gonna happen if I push around this corner ever. And that in Blue Room you kind of have to play that way. Like, yeah, you can peek. And back in the day, I think more so. Just like the skill level of like an average player was a little bit lower, so you could kind of get away with just like wide swinging out of Blue Room and maybe hitting like pot shots. Now everybody is just so fast and everybody's computer is so good and internet's so good. Like you have to be really, really focused on where they're coming from with the sound and everything and trying to catch them off guard because it's just everybody's hitting shots so much quicker and easier nowadays. It seems like to me at least.
I think people calm better as well.
That too.
Days.
Yeah.
Yes. And nade better as well.
Yeah.
It's
hard to get out of blue.
I used to play blue really passively. Like in the Cal days, I would just sit in ashtray and watch apartments and just I wouldn't push from the 2. I see gold players sort of do that too. I don't see a lot of gold players playing like in blue as much as the silver players tend to. I don't know what that means, but
I think they're just so worried about. I saw Booten doing it for T3 on Railroad 2. I know.
Yeah.
I saw it a lot in the rail yard matches where I think on rail yard maybe it's a little more frequently that they try to get out blue versus Railroad 2 where that's just like a death trap of people sitting behind the sprites of the spawn and staring through them, you know?
That is tough.
Yeah. Railroad 1 and rail yard, you can kind of like you can see through those sprites from your side a little better than they can see through theirs, so you can get away with those peaks a lot more, I think. But you do it on Railroad 2 as well, I know. Like you don't fuck around on that map either. You take the fight to them.
Hell yeah.
That's the way it's done right there. Recoil also really strong Axis half, 34 and 16, and I think he was 20 and 4 at one point.
Yeah, he had like a 9 kill streak at one point.
Yep, it was crazy. He was just going off. Nicholson had a really, really tough time dealing with that because when you got a sniper that's feeling hot in those double windows, there's probably not a better spot in all of DoD for a sniper to be is those double windows on Railroad 1.
Yeah, and Recoil really likes to sit in that loft. Like it's one of his favorite spots. So
yeah, it showed.
Yeah, it was they were definitely at not to shit on Darren, but since he had to come in, this is like his only game I think he's played, maybe 2.
Yeah.
But they were definitely a little bit of a disadvantage without who snipes for them normally.
It was Hambuga, who's obviously no
and
longer
he put up numbers, like he put up like big numbers like 30s and stuff, so it kind of makes sense.
Right, and so Nicholson kind of having to take that over. It's not an easy job to do, but and he's not played that much, so.
No, he's just kind of coming back. And he wasn't a sniper back in the day, right? He was more of a rifle.
Yeah, no, I think he was a rifle, yeah.
But maybe he'll shake the rust off.
Right, I think with just a little bit more time. Like, I don't think he was planning on being like a regular starter kind of thing this season, so he wasn't like playing 12-mans or anything like that all the time. So maybe with these last weeks of playoffs, he's going to be trying to play a little bit more and get things back together there. I'm sure, just playing a little bit consistently, he'll get it back pretty quickly.
Low Carb was claiming that they lost on purpose. So they gave us the win. That's what happened.
Sounds like Brett. Of course, Devin going big with the bar. Coffee went huge on allies. Oh, okay, I am on the other. For a second, I was like, oh, same math. Colin on Axis. wow, Allen with the bar went off. Him and Taylor, just such a good heavy duo together. They really do it. And Dillard has been like just one of the most consistent players in the game, period, this season.
Yeah, Dillard's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really stoked to pick up Dillard, and he was instantly like better than me, which was good. Like I'm okay, but I'm streaky. I'm not always really good. He's like consistently hitting those 25 to 30 bombs, and it's nice to have someone who can do that, because sometimes I drop the ball, and it's good to have somebody to pick it up.
I think that's like kind of the best way to have with a rifle duo, is have that one like, you know, really solid, just even straight line kind of guy, and then another guy who can like take the match into his own hands for minutes at a time. You know, then it's kind of a risk reward where there's going to be times you're taking those risks and dying, but when it works, it just can like swing things back in your direction so fast. You know, it's kind of like a Dorito and a Toxinator kind of thing, where like Dorito is going to be very methodical and just kind of taking the same peaks with perfect mechanics, whereas Toxinator is like, you know, pushing straight through a map, flanking, you know, the entire map all the way around, doing all sorts of crazy shit. Maybe it's a bad example because Jared's getting kills all the time anyways, but the play styles at least make sense in my head.
Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, I mean, that's just, like, I think the composition of this team is really good. And then you have Caleb, so the score, like, whatever, kills and deaths, he got all the cap-outs in this match.
Yeah, 100%, like, Caleb was MVP, even though, you know, the kills aren't there, but he capped out, like, the 2 times that we needed to get those points. And he's this super smart player. Like he waited and he heard Brett prime a nade, and then he ran out, and Brett was just like with his thumb up his butt, you know. Like I mean, he's really methodical. He's also our in-game leader, so he's calling stuff. He's telling rotations. You know, he's doing a lot for the team, and like our communication inside the team is so good, it's unreal, and he's a big part of that. Same with Dillard. They're a really good duo too. They work really well together.
That's so key, is having that. Like, I feel like it's kind of an underestimated part of the game, how much good communication can work out, and not having to over communicate, because in the process of that you can miss sound cues and stuff. So being able to have clear, concise communication and somebody to like direct traffic can go such a long way. I mean, you can get a lot of extra kills out of your whole team that way.
Yeah, it reminds me of like how Dorito and Fusion communicate.
Yeah.
Like they're just precise to the point with as little words as possible, so that their teammates can hear what's going on. Like I've been bad, and I've always like complained like shit, like oh, it's over there. Like I didn't have to say like anything, you know. I just gotta call the thing.
I never knew that.
Is that true?
No,
it's cheating.
I am well known for how bad I am with that. I try to not do it as much in matches, at least, but when we're scrimming, I'm talking like the whole time. I might as well just have my mic turned on permanently at that point.
So that's funny.
Which isn't helping anybody, obviously, in the end. But, yeah, I mean, you can see it with the way that you guys end up playing and shifting around maps and stuff, and everybody's always got everybody covered. And then in that cap-out scenario, obviously, especially that one at out of Ticket, where Caleb, I mean, if you're Brett, you're probably thinking he's in train car. You just killed a bunch of them. You know, you're not worried, and you saw it in the decision-making process there, where, you know, Brett threw an unprime nade, and then you guys, a bunch of you died, so Brett was worried, it seemed like, about that nade potentially blowing up a teammate, but no one was really in that area. But I guess, you know, he's just being overly cautious, trying to get rid of the nade, and as soon as that nade got primed, doors are open, and Caleb's capping out. It was really, really interesting to see.
Yeah, it was a fun one.
Yeah, that was just a crazy, crazy match all around. The cap-outs were all, like, just butthole clenchers, like Coffee on the one where I think he was looking at the staircase at the Axis 1, and Caleb was just, like, sneaking up the other way. It was just so one of those things where I happened to have the camera on, like, third person and catch Caleb coming from behind. It was hilarious. Just game of inches and seconds when it comes to timing and stuff. It was just, you know, really, really well played match all around. You know, obviously Colin and Devin are always going off for that team, which that's hard to contend with in general. You know, you need to have everybody on their game teamwork wise and calls wise to deal with two guys that are typically getting like 65 to 70 kills each match.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're really tough to play against.
Yeah, lots of frag power there.
This is definitely a match that could have gone either way. I think we kind of got lucky. I think Railroad 2 is one of our better maps, or the Railroads in general, Rail Yard or Railroad 2. But Yeah, I don't know. It was tough. I was really worried about it. Taylor gave us a pep talk before we started,
Nice.
trying to get us like in a positive mindset, because I was like,
Nice.
oh, this is going to be rough. But just put our nose down.
That's good. I mean, you need that, because we have the same kind of thing with certain matchups too, where we're like, you are very acutely aware of like just how dangerous a team is at any given time. You have like those rivalries and last match of the season, basically deciding who's going to have that first seed and everything allowed on the line. Having somebody to just be like, all right, it's fine. Like, we're going to be able to take these guys. We just got to stay calm and just make calls. Don't get too ahead of yourselves, or outside of yourselves, and just, stay calm. And having that calming presence, I'm sure, went a long way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Who's that on our team, Corey?
Well, it's Doxinator, but he has a different tactic, I think, a little bit. It's more of like we better fucking win this match kind of a thing. Make your fucking calls.
It's the switch, not the carrot.
Exactly, yes. Exactly. Like, J-Rod is like, always worried about the calls he's going to make in any given match, because Jared will not let him hear the end of it if he makes a bad one.
Oh, that's true.
Gotta have him streaming his screen at all times, just to be sure. But yeah, that was the big finale of the KTP Silver season right there. I mean, there was other matches that happened after, but this was really the one that was like, oh, here we go. It's for all the marbles. And it ends up being a 213-141 victory for Price is Right to get them into that first seed, as we see right there with 9-1. And due to tiebreakers, that actually dropped Love Me Not to the third seed in the end, because Washed Up beat them on Harrington in week 1. So that is the actual order of the matches, and I'll get into all the matchups and everything when we're doing the predictions. We can move on to the gold recap now, since, let's see, we haven't even hit an hour yet. That's not too bad. It could be worse. It could be better too, but that's my fault. All right, so right away we'll just get our match out of the way here. It was a 117-89 win, Thunder over Typical. I believe Jules was the top fragger here. He went, I think, 62.
I believe he was.
Yeah, 62 kills. Yep.
32 and 19.
Really, really, really good game there by Jules. Nightmare, of course, went off on Typical, and Greets and Milo. Team owner had a really ridiculous, it felt like at least, Axis half. Did I just hit the same screenshot twice?
I feel like I didn't even see him that game.
Yeah, you were on the other side of the map from him, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't even run into him. I guess maybe he didn't have as many kills as I thought, but it felt like he was killing us a lot.
I feel like he was having really crucial kills.
Yeah.
Like timely kills.
Right, hanging on to mid and like getting us where we were maybe about to break mid, or go, just kind of setting up.
He body broke mid one time.
Yes.
Like it was like the luckiest thing.
That was
him
crazy.
And Tox ran by each other.
Yeah, they ran right by each other in Ticket.
Yeah.
One of those, what's that music? I can't think of it. It's like...
Oh, the Benny Hill music?
Yes, Benny Hill, yes, exactly. That is exactly how you could put that over top of that clip and it would be perfect. Just straight on by each other like ships in the night.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was, that match, the last, 5 minutes, they were pushing the cap on us. It was very scary.
Yeah.
Very
real
scary.
tight.
I had to hit at least 3 prone dive shots with the sniper rifle at the Allied second flag, which I am never confident in. I'm worried about that every time anybody does it. And thankfully this time
I have no confidence in that shot.
No, me neither.
At all. Nope. Because you can shoot them and they can dead lag body through the flag anyways.
Timo did a 360 on one of them. I'm surprised the bullet even hit. You saw him do a 360 in midair, and I think I hit his toe or something. I don't even know. It was so weird, but that was so scary for the last literally 5 minutes of that match. Easily could have lost, but in the end, we managed to hold on. Really, really good game to Typical, and we're going to probably run into them in playoffs.
I'm sure. That was really good.
Yeah, really, really good team there. Obviously missing Scotty, who's usually one of their main rifles, but they got guys like Die Life, Manor, Baron, all these guys that are really good players to fill in, so they haven't lost a step at all here.
I think Nightmare's got the highest KD ratio right now.
Yeah,
too.
by a lot. He's 1.7, I think. Let's see. Where are we? Stats.
It's very high.
1.7, yes.
Wow.
That's crazy. That is absolutely insane.
Jules, is the next
Yeah.
highest distance,
like a half
so
a fucking
far
kill away. Yeah.
It's impressive that it's not a sniper, though.
Right, yeah. The fact that Jules is here with the heavy, especially, is crazy. You just don't see that happen that often with heavies. And No Name, obviously, here with the rifle, too. But, like, you would expect mostly snipers here, but there's only 2 of us, and Nightmare is just head and shoulders above everybody else. It's nuts. He is so good at everything, really, when it comes down to it. And yeah, just that lineup is nuts. They'd obviously feel a little better with Scotty, but I think they're going to be just fine. And, they'll be favored to advance through the playoffs. I continuously say that they'll win the title. I predicted it from day one, and when it happens, nobody can deny it. Especially if Frank, I feel like now Frank has to play, right? Because he was saying he wasn't going to play. And now they kind of like, what are you going to do? You're going to leave the boys hanging there? You can't do that. You got to play, Frank. You got to. So, yeah, that was a big win for us there. 18 points in the end. No, 28
a little
points.
more than that, yeah.
28, yeah. So I just am bad at math. So, yeah, that was Thunder over Typical, 117-89. That's the match of the week. There we go. So then we got T3, 194 over PMC 78. This one I did get to cast. Booten had some really crazy movie clips, especially on Allies. He had one that was like, well, first of all, he's heavy, which Booten has never done like with any regularity, but he still ends up doing really well with it. He had this clip on Balcony where it was like a standing bar kill, picked up a car, cars the guy loft, cars the guy dark hall, and then flies off the balcony and midair cars the guy an underpass, like all in like 6 seconds. It was nuts.
Jesus.
It's a really nutty clip.
Yeah. I am jealous of that. I've played, 2 full seasons and 4 drafts since I've been back, and I got nothing close to that in all that time. It's just unreal. He has been sharp.
Yeah, he's such a smart player, too, and he's really good on top of that. The whole team's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it is. It's never fun to play against them. Yeah, they're never fun.
PDX, best player in the game.
Yeah. Leo,
yeah.
Patton on the sniper, just a nightmare to have to deal with, pun intended. And then Bud, so even if you get by whoever their other heavy is, which sometimes it's PDX, sometimes it's Booten, sometimes it's Till, but Bud is like we talked about before, that role of the passive heavy.
He's like their anchor heavy.
Yeah, he plays that so well. He's
just taking map control and just holding map control, essentially.
Yeah, he's also
you never
really
know
smart.
where he is.
Yeah.
And Till plays the way Till plays.
Yeah, and of course, Till, famously, very particular play style.
Look at Bud's deaths.
Yeah, 21 and 15.
He's just sitting somewhere holding.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
He's not giving up map control, he will be there. Always.
I think he was a pretty big shot in the South American League that they did.
He was, yeah.
He's really smart at the game and knows a lot of the mechanics and how stuff works. I think he was an admin and stuff, so he's a good guy too.
Yeah, I believe he was and I know he was part of the whole process of getting the CVAR checker up and running. He knows the ins and outs of the game, yeah, and it shows. I think he has some of the least deaths in the league at per match. I think he played a few less matches than everybody else, but per match,
and that's not him playing like a dick.
No, it's
that's just his play style.
Yeah,
just holding map control essentially.
Yep, he lets his other heavy go do whatever they want, and he's I'm gonna be, like you said, like an anchor. You don't have to worry about this route. I will be here, and if you die, don't sweat it because I will still be here, and we will not lose the map control.
Right. Yeah,
it's important. That's an important role to play. Most of the best heavy teams that I can think of throughout DoD they're not made up of 2 guys that are running around dropping 50 kills a half. They're made up of 1 guy doing that and another guy who you can really trust to just hang on back, like the Habibs, the Chaoses, the at a time even Pro Fiction towards the end of his career was more of the passive heavy to Ninja, Weedo on PK. All these guys where you have people like Weedo and Cable Guy, you let Cable Guy go run amok and Weedo will be there holding. It's something that's important, and T3 has that in Bud for sure.
Weedo MG'd me train car, and I'll never forgive him for it.
I'm not surprised.
WSVG, I think, just didn't let me out of my fucking spawn.
That's not right. That PK team shouldn't have been MGing against anybody. They were stacked.
Yeah, especially
Ugh.
especially whatever team I was on.
Yeah, what was it, like NWP, I think?
Yeah, it was a
Nah.
pug, but yeah, it was Laura's pug.
Yeah,
It could have not been WSVG, but that's kind of how I remember it.
It might have been WSVG because we all had to play each other like round robin style at first too. So I feel like there was probably a PK match against you guys somewhere in there. Because I don't think Weedo went to any other lands besides that WSVG and maybe an
that's it then.
X3O. But yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised knowing Weedo. He plays like all the things that we're talking about now.
I heard
Like
Habib
Till.
might make a comeback at some point.
Yeah, I've heard that off and on for the last I think 3 or 4 months now. I mean, he's got that Steam ID that's very recognizable, 1776. So, if he shows up, we'll all know it. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, me too. Although it would make that team so hard.
Yeah, right. They don't need another Habib, really. Like, come on.
They got Till, who's Habib Jr.
He is, yeah. He went to the Habib school of DOD.
He really
there.
did, yeah. Literally
played on Habib's money crew for however long. But yeah, he's just like a prototype Habib, and that is kind of like the perfect play style for that spot on the roster. I didn't even look at this screenshot. Let's see, PDX at 30. Leo top fragged overall with 66, I believe, and PDX
Look
was...
at Bud again.
Yep. 26 and 13. 2-to-1 ratio on heavy.
Amazing.
It's just crazy, man. For PMC, Paul played really well, I know. CK actually, I mean, he always has a lot of deaths. That's just the nature of CK, but he got a lot of high-impact kills that put PMC in a position to potentially be able to hang on for a comeback, but the one time that he was he had a really interesting flank going where T3 was getting mid, and CK flanked around from G-Box out of train, and he had a nade prime that he was going to throw at the back of the cap, which is where they would probably be since their axis, but in a plot twist, Bud was still at the platform and picked him off in 4-way right when he was about to get around the corner. It was like the most 1,000 IQ play I've ever seen in DOD.
Wow.
It was crazy that anybody was even thinking about the potentiality of a flank there. And no one else was, just Bud. Like, Bud took it upon himself to be ready for that. And if he had gotten that break off, they would have capped out there, and things are looking a lot different. But, Bud was there to save the day for T3 and allow them to push forward and end up getting a pretty convincing win when all was said and done.
Did Nick get any crazy one-shots with the pistol?
I believe so, yeah. He always does with that stupid thing, man. That. I don't understand his pistol at all. Mine is shooting blanks, and he just shoots one bullet at a time in the head. It's ridiculous.
Have you ever shot just at a space? The pistol shot goes like 3 feet to the left
all
or right
over the
every
place.
time.
Yeah, I check it all the time, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah, like why isn't this thing accurate? Also, I saw him use that trick with his ammo can fountain,
Yep, he throws that ammo box down and it makes it, I mean, it is pretty tough to distinguish that from a helmet because you peek in and you're going to shoot quickly. So you just see that little green that could be a helmet and you shoot at it. And then he's in another spot and is like, I gotcha. Every time. I hate it. Does it in the loft too on the sandbag, which is even worse because like the exact height of the helmet over the top of the sandbag is basically where that ammo box is. So, and he puts it on the left side, so where you'd expect the allied sniper to peek, and then you peek out, you got to get that shot off quick, you do, and it's just an ammo box, and he's on the whole other side of the loft, and you're dead. It's just, I don't know how he thought of that, but man, I hate it. I try to do it, and my ammo box just falls off.
Yeah, I've also tried it a couple times and just been like, well, I don't know. This.
There's some trick to it that I just don't have, but that it was very clever of him to have come up with that, and it just drives me absolutely batshit crazy every time I see it. But yeah, in the end, that was a big win for T3. No reason for PMC to hang their heads after that. They were in that match. Like, don't let the score fool anybody. That, especially that turning point with CK on that flank, up until that point, they were within, I think it was like 30 points. It was very, very close. And after that mid-cap was when T3 kind of turned it on and ran up the score a little bit more. But, really, really good showing there by PMC heading into the playoffs. They got that, I should probably bring that up.
Do they have Vertex normally, or?
No, he's on Icy Hot.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So PMC ended up with the actually second last seed, not the last seed. They got into the playoffs comfortably. They had the tiebreaker over as well. They also had it over Icy Hot. If Icy Hot would have lost, they would have jumped up even more. But they're going to have a tough matchup in round 1, but they beat these guys, which is saying a lot because Icy Hot is a really tough team. They could easily, I say it every time I'm on this thing, that they could easily be 9-0. Like, they lost so many ridiculously close matches. So having wins over that team is saying a lot. Like, where is it? Not that one. Icy Hot loses by 4. Icy Hot loses by 3.
Wow.
Yeah. Icy Hot loses... Oh, wait, here they won by last-second Ninja Cap by Vertex, but they were about to lose by, 10. And the match against us, we capped out at the very last second, so we were actually up by... It would have been 81 to 73. So we were up by 8 points, but we got like a freebie in the last second.
Yeah, that was very late.
Right. We really won by 8. But it's honestly, they'd probably prefer that cap out at the end so they didn't have another single-digit loss on their record.
Whew, that's rough. That's very close several times.
That is so painful. Like, I can't even imagine. So they got to be feeling pretty good, though, headed into the playoffs where, like, close matches are kind of the norm. And they're very familiar with playing those close matches now, more so than anybody else is in the division, which I think will give them a little bit more of a mental advantage. But yeah, and speak of the devil, the match of the week. Oh, wait, no, I still have one more to do. Wow, I get so sidetracked. So this one is kind of cool, too, though. Slow Loris facing Clinic get their first win of the season. 130 to 128 on Railroad 2.
Yay.
Right? Good
Gall
for them.
went off, didn't he?
Yep, Gall, which also is a good segue into the MVP of Gold. Where is he?
Gall, right there.
He's somewhere. Oh, there he is, yeah. Gold MVP
Nice.
Gall. He had 73 kills, which tied Vertex, but, in the end, Gall bringing them home to that first win, the amount of frags he had over everybody else, the ratio and everything. Gall got the MVP there. First win of the season for Slow Loris. Hildy, of course, still had a bunch of kills. I think he had 68 total. I can't really see that Allied side.
Oh, I could not read that.
Maybe if I go to the original.
There we go.
32, so he had 66 total. Not bad. That's actually quite a lot of kills, to be honest. And yeah, Gall was 73. On Clinic side of things, looks like Suave had himself quite a half with the car there. What did he do on Allies? 19. Carpenter, wow, 38 kills on Allies. We're always talking about Carpenter on the Dodcast and how much he's improved over these 2 seasons. Like, the guy is just lights out with the sniper rifle. Insam, really good Durant half. Insam hasn't been getting to play as much. He's been away. I'm not sure. I have no idea why, but he just hasn't been able to play as much. So, but when he's on, that guy is as good.
When Insam's on, it's insane.
We saw that in the Anzio match we played against them, where Insam was everywhere.
Yep.
And it's tough. It's tough for obviously both these teams. They don't get into the playoffs in the end. They end up on the outside looking in. But after last season, Clinic as the silver champs, and then they came up. They beat Thunder early on in the season on what's supposed to be the map we never lose on, and then just kind of after that, Debo was like taking matches off sometimes or couldn't show up. Had a suspension for another match where he couldn't play. Like, their lineup was kind of in flux all the time. Insam, like I said, missed a lot of matches, so they were throwing a bunch of different guys in at all times. So just kind of a tough season there where it looked really, really promising after that week 3 win over us. And Slow Loris, the big thing that happened was they lost Austin and basically got nothing for him. It was this whole thing. It was supposed to be the first trade in DoD history. Austin for KO and Cody. So Slow Loris were getting a heavy, which they needed. And KO, which he could play any class. And in the end, Scott goes to Love Me Not, and Cody just never plays again. So they just got rid of Austin for nothing, which sucks.
Ouch.
That was like, I think that Austin and Hildy were like the ones that wanted to play in gold too. Like, they were going to be in silver, and they wanted to move up.
Yeah, I was trying to make a silver team with Hildy, and he just didn't want to play silver.
Yep.
And I don't blame him, so...
Yeah, he was pretty hellbent on playing gold, and I'm sure that losing Austin at that point was kind of like, oh, fuck, man. Like, this was not the exact team that I had in mind going forward, but, like, hopefully these other guys will play, and then they don't. They made the most of it. Oh yeah, where is Candyman? That is true.
He's one of their good rifles.
He's normally
Yeah.
pretty active.
Right?
Already.
I don't see him
plays
missing matches.
a lot of their matches. But I
Yeah.
guess he didn't in this one.
That's tough for, I'm sure Clinic, that's a pretty big difference maker. I'd say he's their most consistent player, realistically. Like, he might not have as many high highs as, Carpenter with like a 38 or Insom getting like 40 kills, but he's always like in that 30 and 25 range, just like a rock,
Yeah, super consistent.
Great third rifle, which is a class that J-Rod can attest to is not easy to be consistent with. It's tough.
No, yeah.
Those guns can be so random and you're playing shitty spots. So
the routes are generally pretty bad.
Yep. That's why you don't see that many like real X Factor thirds like a J-Rod or a Candyman. Not a lot of teams even have like set thirds. Like they swap in and out.
Yeah, definitely people pick up the MP40 pretty frequently.
Yeah.
Or like a Fusion.
Yeah, yep. It is. Nowadays, there's just, back then, there was a few more, like, well, obviously, Tox was a third, which, that was his whole thing, that he was getting 40 kills with the Stas, so why give him a car? Why bother? It's just a waste. Why not do it with the Stas if you can? And the Brad's Fusion, Ward for a while there was a really good third. Lots of guys back then that were that, like, prototypical third rifle.
Most of my DoD career, I was a third as well.
Yep, you were. That's what I thought, was that it's only been more recently that you started carring, because I definitely remembered you as a third originally, always.
Yeah.
I always remember Corey with the Stas.
Yeah, in the mold of a Toxinator kind of player. But yeah, like nowadays, it's not as frequent. So a guy like Candyman is a big difference maker. We would have a hole in our lineup without J-Rod there. I don't know who would be thirding instead of him. Like whoever would be doing it wouldn't be doing as good of a job as he would, because it's a hard position to play, both weapon wise and route wise, and like what your role is supposed to be on the team versus what your main rifles and your heavies and your sniper all do. So that's a big loss for Clinic not having Candy there, and that's I'm sure made a difference in the result of this match. But in the end, Slow Lords, they got the job done for their first win. Congratulations to them. Not ending up winless. Obviously, I'm sure they preferred it to be that way. So, and MVP to Gall, as we can see by the letters, which I kind of love. Every time I see that, I just love the fact that people do it. Like Stamp, Luke for Dillard. What? Hemligd. Huh.
There's a flag next to it. I wonder if it's like Swedish.
Yeah, it might be. Maybe it's like for secretly because he's Swedish.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's what it is, but I'm not sure what it would spell out. Maybe that's his first name or something. I don't know enough.
Well, I feel bad for mispronouncing it.
Right, I don't know anymore. Like Hemligd. I don't know. We'll look it up. We'll find out for next time. But yeah, 130, 128 Slow Lords there. And now the final recap we have for this regular season. This one was a barn burner. I was casting the first half, and I was like, well, it looks like this is over. I've got a match to play. If anybody else wants to take over, please do. And I left, and at that point, I believe it was, this half, 112-5. Icy Hot was winning over. I was like, no way this is going to get any closer than that now. Like, they just have too much of a lead. And then I see the score afterwards, and it's 122-112 Icy Hot. They only win by 10 points.
Wow.
Over came storming back here. Asaka with 37, No Name with 32, Kum with 32. Just going off, winning this half by 97. Coming so close to ending up bumping up in their playoff seeding. But Icy Hot was able to hold on. Vertex actually tied for the top fragger of the week with 73. He had 43 on a big Allied half, 30 on Axis as well. Sick there with the car, 35 on Allied side. Obviously, Vertex with the 43. Everybody else was kind of in the same range here, like Matt's 26. Matt had a great half in train car. He was holding them down at their first a lot in this half, and they needed every one of those points, it turned out. And Jesse in apartments, he's always been rock solid in Railroad 2 apartments. William going long, 2019, had a pretty good conservative half there. Austin did a good job. And then, on overside, as always, they got the big guys that you always expect to come out and do work. The No Names, the Sakas, the Kums. Mata is always consistent with the sniper. Raven filling in on the heavy, doing a good job complimenting Kum, and then Jizzy Boy and Train with the third. Just came up a little bit short.
Yeah, it's surprising too, because Over is one of those teams that they've been playing together for so long. Like they've got really good like teamwork and stuff, and especially with No Name being added to the roster this season, I don't know, I just thought they would just whoop everybody, but it's been really tough for them, tough going.
Yeah, they've had a weird kind of season. I think so. I would say the biggest thing that's been happening with them is just Caffrey makes them such a more dynamic roster. Just on any given map where you can have, like No Name over here, Sako over here, and Caffrey over here.
Yeah, that's rough.
Right? Like that, I feel like having that impact heavy. You can even see the difference like in the first few weeks where he is playing and things look very, very different for them. And then Caffrey's gone for the rest of the season and they're kind of having to like swap guys in and out. I think Raven ended up playing the last few matches, but there was, a few different guys. They had Walu play against us. They might have had Raleigh play once.
How did Walu do? He's, historically amazing.
Great, yeah. I don't think, because he had heavy, and he's never heavied. So
I see.
Yeah, it did not go super well. I was scared heading into that match that they were going to use him, and he was going to snipe, which that's what I would have done if I was them. Just throw him on the sniper. Mata can heavy, have Mata heavy. But thankfully they didn't do that, so we were able to win. But yeah, like they couldn't get a set 6 figured out. They didn't have like a really pure heavy. Every one of those guys that are backups for them are rifles or snipers, and rifles and snipers don't like to heavy. We just don't like it.
That's very true.
You could heavy, actually, though. I've seen you heavy ridiculously well.
Every once in a while I can, but it's a struggle. I have to mentally think about everything I do, and I don't understand the recoil, particularly the side-to-side recoil. And I play with extreme, like low sensitivity, so it's even harder for me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's one of those things where it's like I just do my best to control the vertical, and my side-to-side looks like shit.
Yeah, if I can do the vertical, I'm kind of happy.
Yeah, I feel much better about myself then. But yeah, I think that was the biggest story with Over. I think these stats are a little bit wrong because it says Caffrey played 2, but he did play a third match on Anzio. But in these 2 matches, 124 and 107, 1.25 KTP rating, which is in like the top 10. You're losing a top 10 player there for the rest of your season. That hurts. And I think that just having, I saw him actually in Discord today and Over looking for a scrim, so everybody in gold be on notice. I think Caffrey's back and Over are looking a lot better all of a sudden. No one wants to hear it.
Comeback story from behind.
Yeah, right for the playoffs. It's like Kyle Schwarber back in 2017, 16, I think. Missed the whole season, came back in the World Series and shit all over the Cleveland, at the time, the Guardians. So yeah, I think that'll be a big story on Over potentially making a playoff push here. They do have to get through typical first. We'll get to all that. That was the last match we had to recap there, which was 122-112. Icy got over, which put them up into, where'd it go? Oh boy, I'm moving shit. That's not good. Anyways, it put them up to the 4th seed at 5-4. The tiebreakers here were all crazy, so if Over had won, they would have jumped up, but if PMC had won their match, PMC would have jumped over them, and it was just a whole disaster. But that is the final standings there, and all the recaps for the regular season are done. So now we can get on with we'll get on with the predictions of the playoffs after we have a chat with the guest Corey Price here.
All right.
We've got questions to ask that we're always asking people. So J-Rod, you want to take the first one while I get all set up for the rest of it?
How'd you start with DoD, Corey?
Well, my group of friends growing up, we were really into Half-Life and all Half-Life mods. Like all of our LAN parties were just like we'd play like 5 or 6 different Half-Life mods. And Day Defeat was always one of them. And I was caught up with Day Defeat when they would release a new, like a new beta or whatever. And I don't know exactly when I started, but my first map was like DoD Hill, But long story short, my little brother joined a pub clan, the 4th Marine Raiders, 4th R. And they were just like a pub clan that had a little bit of competitiveness to them, but like, you know, OGL and things like that, STA. And I was like, oh man, I'm better than my brother. I'm gonna join the clan. Like, you know, like just be all competitive with my brother. And so I joined, and you know, that was a good group of people. That was like Stealth, Moriar, me, Alopex, the Germans, a bunch of people. We had a really good lineup, especially for like your first adventure into Cal or whatever. Our first season was the season trademark 1 Cal Main. So I think that was season 6 or 7. That's how I remember it, but
I think that was, season 7, maybe 8, but I think 7.
And it was fun. We just went from there. We got to the finals, and then like I think I dropped 8 and 30 on Donner. It just like totally shat the bed. The fucking not finals, but like the playoffs. You know? So we took like 7th or 8th in playoffs in first Calo match or season, and that was basically it. Then I joined High P after that, and my team fell apart, and I kind of regret it. I always wish that we would have kept 4th art together, because like almost everybody from that team went on to have like day defeat careers of some sort. You know, like Stealth's still playing.
Yeah.
Alopex still playing. Like it was fun. It was very fun. Brad Murdoch seduced me off the team.
Oh yeah, Brad. That's right.
And, yeah. Well, Brad was part of Dice for a while, and Dice kind of took 4th R, my Cal team, under its wing. So they would give us like little mini lessons and teach us nades, and Die Life in particular taught me how to rifle really well, or as best he could.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That like you guys were kind of like our farm team kind of thing, you know, where we were all hanging out and vent together all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I love that.
Then I clan hopped for like forever, team hopped and stuff like that. I did a whole bunch of SoCal lands and WSVG. I was a bench for Online Thunder. So I always tell people, technically I won Cal I.
Technically you did.
Technically.
You did. That counts. My mom just called me in the middle of all that. I don't know if anyone heard me talking on the phone. If so, I'm sorry.
No, we didn't.
Dude, quiet. But yeah, that's how I got started. Just a pub clan with my brother joined, and I thought I could also join the pub clan and like be competitive with him.
That sounds like me and Ryan.
We had ranks, and you had to vote for people to like get to the next rank. It was amazing.
Yes.
Why DoD instead of like CS? Like, what was it about DoD that it made you more attracted to it than like CS?
Sure. And I had played CS first, for sure. Like me and my brother would ride our bikes to the local LAN center, and we played just countless hours of Counter-Strike first. Before, I mean, I played Day of Defeat, but for fun. But like CS was like my first love, you know, or whatever.
Right.
But once I got into the competitive version of Day of Defeat, I just realized that I enjoyed the gunplay a lot better. So with Counter-Strike, it was kind of hard to control recoil just because you had to like memorize patterns, and like it just felt sort of off. And it's also slower. So in Counter-Strike, you fucking die. Now you have to wait and just watch your team, you know?
Thank you. This is what I was hoping.
Yeah.
This was the same reason for me.
Same here.
I couldn't. I mean, just when I was a kid, it's like I could either immediately spawn and keep playing, or I could wait. I want to keep spawning. I want to keep playing.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch my stream, you'll see that I hit the control button like a million times when I'm dead. Just like the 10 seconds is honestly too slow for me.
Too much.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a way faster paced game, and I like the changing dynamics. It to me, I make it akin to like Counter-Strike is more like baseball, where there's lots of stops and starts to the play, and Day of Defeat's more like basketball, where it's a constant shift back and forth. There's lots of points being scored, lots of action constantly. So it's more entertaining for me to play.
Yep. Yeah, the same thing with me. So another thing we were going to ask you about is your outlook on gameplay. Like, Corey, what should we ask him about the gameplay and the community? Oh,
he's gone. He's talking to his mom. What do you mean though about gameplay? Like,
not sure because Corey had this written down, but I'm not exactly sure what he wants specifically.
Here I am just hanging out listening. I guess I'll have to chime in because J-Rod's got a writer's block here. Essentially, as someone who's played the game a long time, you realize how kind of the gameplay changes. Metas change, gameplay changes, the community itself changes. You would hope that mid-30s people would be a little more mature. I would say most are. Some still aren't. I guess I would say, like, what would be the biggest changes you see in today's Day of Defeat compared to 2005?
Oh, sure. That's a good question. I mean, that's tough because it still depends on the team and still depends on the player. But I think generally people have kind of decided who was best already. Like we kind of figured it out back then. You know what I mean? Like a whole bunch of people won at different stages, and so there's less like need to win or be the best, or like people play for more fun, for frags, for like getting movie clips, and like so I see a lot less slow play and a lot more kind of aggressive play. But that being said, especially in gold level, you still see that slow playing, the smart playing and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like I said, in general, I think that the play style has sped up a lot. I think people are, I don't know about more accurate, but it feels like everyone is closer on the same level than it was in the past.
Skill ceiling seems higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
agree.
agree.
Feel like when you watch older movies or demos, it's like it just seems drastically different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like I feel like if I played the way I play now back then, I would be a much better player. Had maybe been able to break into Kali a little bit more or whatever.
I'd say for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true with a lot of people too. It's not just me, but yeah, I think the skill ceiling is definitely higher, and people hit shots that are crazy. We have an influx of European and South American players that bring a whole nother dynamic to it that, we saw a little bit back then, but now we have like a lot of their best players and stuff, and it's kind of fun to interact with them.
Yeah, I do love that. As a fan of Euro DoD for so many years, it's nice to be able to actually play like with those guys eventually over the course of like the later stages of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the skill ceiling is probably due to us being a little bit smarter now that we're 35 and not 16 or whatever. Yeah. But also, I think it's because we're willing to take more chances because we don't really care that much about there's not as much on the line. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there's no like thousands of dollars or anything like that potentially.
Yeah, we're not getting sponsored. We're not on any kind of main stage anywhere. It's like it's a very like easygoing kind of thing. So people are willing to take chances and do kind of crazy shots, and we're all more like Corey now.
Everyone finally saw what I was doing all those years.
Right.
Going for the flying no scopes all the time. Plus the computers are better now too. Like I feel like there was guys with just bad computers back then who, if they had this kind of setup back then, would have probably been a lot better. But they were playing on like 30 FPS,
Yeah, for sure. I started on an E-machine with a Voodoo 3.
Wow. Whew. That is old school, baby.
But yeah, I think that probably has something to do with it, because even the shittiest computer out there right now can just destroy Day of Defeat.
Seriously. There's like no computer bad enough to not be able to run DoD anymore.
Right.
Which is nice for everybody that wants to get back into the game. Like for me, I mean, I went a little overboard buying a computer, but after not having a computer since 2014, like I could have just bought the cheapest computer available to just play DoD, and it would have been fine. It's really, really nice, I guess, that we're playing a 20-year-old game in that respect. Of course, if you wanted to play any other game with that computer, like CSGO, it might be a little worse. But yeah, it's just it's one of those kind of cool things.
Man, even CSGO is like 12 years old now.
I know, yeah, it is. It's not exactly a new, like, revolutionary game anymore. Unfortunately, for everybody's sake, there's not a new one yet. Although I'm wondering now, it seems like slow. Not because with CS, it's always so slow till they actually like die off because there's just so many players. But I feel like it's kind of starting to get to that point where the player base is going down rather than going up.
Yeah, it was doing pretty good for a while.
Yeah,
it kind of has surges of activity.
Right, majors.
But it's been fun watching Day of Defeat kind of grow, from just like getting some 12-mans, a few years ago when I kind of first got back into it, because that stupid Days of War game. But the Euros were the ones 12-manning. Like no North American was 12-manning. Like the South Americans were doing their thing, but I wasn't really connected to them. So I would just play in these like European 12-mans, and it was very fun, and it kind of slowly grew from there. But with the Days of War, I started adding a bunch of people to the 1911 Discord, because I got paranoid about losing contact with everyone. So I have 250 Day of Defeat friends on Facebook that I just like kept trying to add and stuff.
Yeah.
So I just went through everyone and invited them all back, and then we started those drafts, which were fun. They were chaotic and kind of crazy, but we tried.
Yeah.
And then it's fun to see it grow, and the league's been doing really well and bringing people back together, and sometimes bringing out some toxic stuff, but that's what we're known for. It
is.
That's our lifeblood for some reason. Yeah, I don't know.
It's so weird. Fucking DOD.
That's probably true with any competitive thing, but
true.
But yeah, it's pretty funny. That's what we're known for, I think.
Right, we are. It's just always been this way. It's crazy because you'd think, like Jared said, like we're all in our 30s now for the most part. You'd think that wouldn't be a thing anymore, but for some reason, man, we can't avoid it in DOT. It's always happening.
Yeah, it is. And especially people come back from, and then they remember the way that we used to be, so they instantly jump back into those old habits or whatever.
Right.
Which is fine. If it's people are ribbing each other for fun or whatever, either because they're buddies, that's like totally fine or whatever. I just sometimes think things get malicious.
Sometimes, oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you can see when that turn happens a lot of the time, where it's like, oh boy, things are about to get bad.
Were you at SoCal 6 when Joey and Rob fought each other?
No, so that was 7, which I wasn't at, but I heard all about that.
Yeah, so it started off all fun, like they were laughing, and then I think Rob hit Joey just a little too hard, and you could just see the instant change from fun little bout to like a serious, like this is gonna be a fight, And I think we kind of got lucky that security intervened, but like you could see the change happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That blood, like in their whole body, just starts to flow. Like, okay, this is real.
Yeah. So I think that's a good analogy for the Day of Defeat community.
It is. That's kind of perfect for it, really. I've heard, like, there's pictures of that even, too. So, like, even not being there, I feel like I can see it very clearly with those two guys, knowing them as well as I do, exactly how that would have looked and played out. I heard about that, like, right after it happened. Because, like, I sent a team there that I was supposed to be on, and then I backed out of Go at the last second and found someone to replace me. So they were all letting me know what happened in every match and everything. And then Ryan called me to let me know about that boxing situation. And I was like, yep, sounds about right.
Sounds right.
Just crazy, crazy DOD land shit. We'll have a whole Dodcast about land stories sometime. That's one of the big ideas that we have.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Right? Like, there's so many. So many.
I liked that Thorin interview with Kellen, but I wish he would have done some other people too.
I know. That's what I said too.
I even messaged him and was like, hey, I could get you like any of the top people you could ever talk to. Like, just let me know. Like, do another one, please. Yeah, like get the twins on there, get Dan on there. Like even Sears would do a good job of like telling stories.
He's been around forever and ever, behind the scenes, in front of the he's somebody that's been there since the start.
Yeah, absolutely. Or Matt Rogers would be a good one too. Like, I mean, there'd be a lot of good stories in there.
Yeah, like I love Kellen, and obviously he has like that big marquee moment of DOD history, which is kind of like why it was him in the end. But
sure,
I think there are better guys like the twins, like a Scorch. Guys who, because I mean, Kellen, that was kind of like his shining moment. And then it was basically like that, like 2-year span for him where he was like the guy. And then after that, he just kind of stopped playing DOD. Whereas there's other guys like those guys that were around just straight on through that would have even more to say about it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always thought about eventually making a little documentary, like with the history, just through interviews with people. And because I always think of DOD as like there being like 3 different eras. There was the beta days, and then the sort of like the LAN era, which is like the golden age where you have all the LANs, and then you have the post CPL days.
Yeah.
And then now there's a fourth era, which is modern, which is
crazy.
Crazy.
Who thought that was gonna fuck? I really had no idea. Like, I bought this computer thinking I was just playing CS:GO and like maybe a couple 12-mans, and then it became, here we are again in a league with however many 16, 17 teams again. It's wild.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy. And what I hate is that people don't even remember Cal anymore. It's like gone. You know, it's like out of people's like CPL. All that stuff's kind of fading from esports history. And esports has blown up so much. But you know, like we were there and we had an impact on it, at least somewhat. Like we weren't a main stage by any means, but we were one of the supporting pillars of that early esports generation. And I always tell people like, yeah, like now the prize pots are millions of dollars, and we fought over like $10,000, you know, which to us was a lot, you know,
so much.
It's scraps compared to what they do now. So
really,
yeah, I always say like we walked so other people could run, but I wish we would get some credit for it. So like a big part of what I want to do is just sort of like leave our history there for people to remember in some way.
I like that. I think that'd be a really, really cool idea. Actually, it's kind of like the one thing we don't have, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Comprehensive history of the game, put in like long form like that. I think that'd be an awesome idea.
Even short form, just like
either way, yeah.
Like have you ever watched? There's a skateboarding guy, Jeff Grasso, and he did these love letters to skateboarding, and he felt the same way about 80s skateboarders, that they were kind of being forgotten. So he just started like interviewing them about skate spots or like certain tricks and who did it first. And like I like the idea of like these little 15-minute just like interviews about, you know, like what was it like playing against Kellen, or like, you know, how did you feel about Trademark when they started proning a whole bunch, or like, you know, all this shit. Like we have a lot to talk about.
Really, truly. Like, I mean, we could go on and on and on, like forever, honestly. Having these conversations I always love, because especially with someone like you that was there for so much of it. You know, you have some of the guys now that like they're listening to this as if it's coming out of a history book, you know, they have no real connection to it, but they like to hear kind of like the lore behind the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? Which is cool. I'm glad that newer players want to even hear this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, you have people like Louis, whose dad played Day of Defeat. You know,
really? I didn't know that.
Old. Yeah, his dad played DoD, and that's what got him interested in it. I think his dad was like one of those, older pub guys, you know, or whatever.
Like
but
my dad.
Still, did he do that too?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yep. He was in Well, at first he was in SAS, which is how me and Ryan got into the game. And then he was, for years and years, one of the high-ups in BAW, B-A-W.
Oh, yeah.
Good old BAW Pepe Le Pew.
Someone got on my stream recently, and she said that her dad was in Llamas with Drugs.
Wow.
As like a pub dude.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like it instantly made me feel old, but
yeah.
You know, but that's a thing now, so.
Right, we are all relatively old now, unfortunately. Yeah. It's so weird, but, you know, time goes on for us, I guess. I can't believe it's 2022 and we're playing competitive DoD, but this game just refuses to die.
Absolutely. Like Eric would say, what is dead may never die. Right?
Exactly. That's a perfect way to put it. But yeah, that is, I mean, oof. Like I said, we could go on and on. I guess I'll move on to the playoff predictions now, even though I'd probably rather just keep talking about all the fun stories we got from 20 years in DoD.
Yeah, for sure.
We could be here forever. I guess we're up to an hour and 45 minutes now, so. This is what happens every time, though. Like, we just start shooting the shit, and then, you know, all of a sudden I look and I'm like, whoops, that was 45 minutes. Ha! I can't help it.
It's too much fun.
It really is. All right, so now we'll get on to the playoff prediction portion of the show, which I've got this fun little website here that will just take everything away for me really easily, rather than me having to flip back and forth between a bunch of things. But not a whole lot of matchups to get into here. So in Silver B, which is like the 6 through 9 seeds from the regular season in Silver, we've got 2 matchups. It's technically the semis. It's a best of 1. There will be a map veto, of course, as we see an example of it right here. And the matchups are Fast Loris versus Bedtime Now, 1 versus 4, and CIS versus Moose Knuckle, which is 2 versus 3. We obviously don't know what the maps are going to be for any of this shit, so we can only really speculate how the veto might go down and stuff. But, you know, it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. I know Fast Loris and Bedtime Now were having a little bit of trouble scheduling their matches against each other, so that might be a factor here. CIS and Moose Knuckle seem like they were able to schedule theirs pretty easily with one another, so.
Yeah, that's good. I really hope that Fast Loris and Bedtime Now can schedule.
Yeah.
I would like to see a match out of them. It'd be fun.
Right? Especially now that they have a little bit of a rivalry going on with each other, too. I love it. They seem to want to really badly beat on one another in game, and I feel like that always makes for the most intense matches when it comes down to it. As you can see with things like, you guys and Love Me Not, and us and T3, like, it always, you bring out the best of each other when there's a little bit of rivalry going on. So I imagine they'll figure it out, right?
It's good drama.
Yeah, you got to have a little bit of storyline for the playoffs now. But yeah, so I mean, I think looking at this, a best of one, I honestly have no earthly idea how a veto might play out with these two teams. Like realistically, looking at what maps like they won on.
Those two are down to either Railroad 2 or Lenin. It's up to Fast Loris to decide.
Okay, that's kind of interesting. Railroad 2 or Lenin. Let's take a look at how that played out for these teams in the regular season. So Lenin, that's the last 2 weeks. Whoops. And I'm on gold. Double whoops. So Fast Loris played CIS, won 166-59. Bedtime Now lost by 25 to No-Go, but they had a pretty good showing there against a good No-Go team on Railroad 2. And then for Lenin, Bedtime Now took a forfeit loss. Okay, they took a forfeit loss to Fast Loris. And Fast Loris won against Moose Knuckle 572-207. Wow, so that's a pretty good, strong showing by them on Lenin. Interesting. I mean, we know that Stealth is a great Lenin sniper, so that does give me like 1 point on the side of them maybe going Lenin. Bedtime Now, though, with Kenny on the sniper rifle is no slouch, as we've seen. So that could be something that maybe wants to push Fast Loris a little more towards Railroad 2. Obviously, having watched Bedtime Now play on Railroad 1, I mean, it's pretty similar. They look pretty good on it. Luca's a good heavy, so that kind of caters a little bit towards Lenin as well. I don't know if Fast Loris might want to take that in consideration, but they also have strong heavies, whether it's Hey Hi, Twist, Stamps. I think Red Dog's been playing the rifle.
Yeah, Red Dog's been heavy. Oh, I think he switches off, though. I've seen him heavy.
Yeah, he's definitely heavy at least a couple times this season, so probably based on the map. But yeah, I mean, realistically, I would lean towards a Lenin pick here for Fast Loris. We could be so wrong, and I can't. We obviously can't pick that it's going to be Lenin, but just speculating for my side of things. But yeah, so I mean, not sure what Bedtime Now's technical 6 is. For Fast Loris, it's usually been like Laura, Stealth, Twist, Hey Hi, Stamp, and then like Red Dog's been in a lot. Lynx has played here and there. Aloe's gotten in. It's going to be a tough match for Bedtime Now, no matter how you cut it. Like, Fast Loris was just outside of being in that upper bracket. They are a good team. They have very good players with a lot of experience. They just kind of came out on the wrong end of a couple close matches.
Yeah, they've been getting stronger up too. Like I said, they beat us by 150 after we had just played Love Me Not on Railroad.
Right.
Like they can definitely throw it down. And I like that they're like they kind of have an old school team, like with Alopex, Twist, and Lynx, and Laura, and Stealth. Like, I mean, there's a lot of like kind of old players in there.
Yeah, they do. They have that vintage flavor to them, where it's really just all people that have been around for like at least 15 years.
Is that Grim from the pub?
It is, yeah.
That's amazing.
Grim, who ran a pub, and he's been around forever. They had him and his wife Softerson had a team. I forget the name of the team now. It's gonna bug me. Maybe it was LAB, like a boss, something like that.
That's rad.
Yeah, so they been around forever and ever. All these guys and girls. And then so it's. I got to go with Fast Loris. No matter what the map is, I got to go with Fast Loris. Just, there's so much experience. They are the 1 seed. They're the favorites down on this side of the bracket. They have a lot of talent. All these players have played in playoffs before. Like, the experience level is off the charts for this team, up against most other teams in either division. And, I got to figure that they are fully prepared for whatever map should be chosen, and everybody will be on their game. They scrim a lot. I know Bedtime Now does try to scrim still, too. They're just such a new team. They have a lot to overcome to pull this off. And I know they've had to use ringers quite a bit as well, which could end up being a problem in the playoffs, too. Like, I don't know if they have a set 6 that will be there necessarily. or if they'll be able to, like, who will they have ring? You know, are they going to have, maybe they'll have, like, a really good ringer. I mean, within reason. Because I know that there was some speculation about trying to use No Name, which I think is insane.
Yeah, that was
like,
rough.
wow.
I think we shot them down for that too.
Yeah.
Like, kind of feel bad, but at the same time, like, I don't want to play against No Name.
No one does. We don't want to play against No Name, you know? Like, no. I'm sorry, but no. I would not be able to approve that ever if I was playing against them. But there's plenty of other good ringers, you know, like, without going to that level. So if they need one, I'm sure they'll be able to find one that can do the job. But yeah, I gotta go with Fast Loris. You know, if it's Railroad 2, say maybe like a 80 to 100 points. If it's Lennon, say like 150, 160. J-Rod, what do you think about that matchup? Or did J-Rod leave?
I'm here. Probably, okay. I'd say Fast Loris is going to beat CIS.
It's bedtime now.
Oh. They're definitely going to be bedtime now.
Okay, yeah.
For sure.
And Corey?
Yeah, I would have to give it to Fast Loris too. Just out of the, I think if Bedtime Now had been a team from the beginning and they had their what do you call it? Their team play together a lot better and stuff. Like, they have really good people like Chu, Sean, Luca, Hoolies, Beluga, Johnny V even sometimes just pop off like crazy amounts. So, but I just think the teamwork isn't quite there yet, just because they haven't been a team for so long. And Fast Loris has been a team since day one, and yeah, I think they're going to take it.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, props to Bedtime Now. They filled in on short notice for a team that died out of nowhere. Like, they did the solid for the league doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got to give them a lot of credit for that, and you got to, you know, I think from, you know, it was good. I'm glad to get the extra matches in. I'm glad I didn't have to take another bye. Like, super stoked that they stepped up like that.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. Them, and not an easy job to take on, but you know, just Fast Loris is a good team, and they're going to be tough for anybody to beat. And I just think that the deck's kind of stacked against Bedtime Now here, so I think that's pretty unanimous on the side of Fast Loris. Moving on over, we got CIS and Moose Knuckle. This match actually was just recently played. Oh wait, no, not that recently. I take that back. I think it was on Solitude that they played against one another. If I can find it. CIS. There it is. Oh, Shamil. Oh, that's a forfeit. I lied. There it is. Solitude. CIS won 189 to 76. I know that Riley Staffer and PKL went off in that match, and I think Fyro as well had themselves a really, really great match. Moose Knuckle, though, so their roster wasn't exactly the roster at that point. They had like a couple of random ringers. I don't think that Duality definitely didn't play in that match, or Quack Duck. I don't know if OS even played in that. So it's a little bit of a different story if they've got Sean, Duality, and Quack Duck, and OS. Bo has been putting up more and more kills whenever he's playing. You know, they got some firepower on that team. It's just a matter if they can get it all in at once. Again, obviously, we don't know the map situation unless Jared has some insight on that at all.
I don't even know if this has been scheduled yet.
Okay. So, yeah, no idea on the map.
I was going to ping Riley just to see.
Yeah, okay. Oh, my God, now my cell phone's dying. Wonderful.
No.
Oh, well, whatever. But, yeah, and on CIS's side... Oh, wait, I already was just talking about CIS. They got Riley Staffer, obviously, Hong Kong Mafia, Fyro, all these guys that have just gotten leaps and bounds better from where they started at the beginning, just before Season 2 was about to commence. So... very, very, I love that team. It's so cool in 2022 DOD to see a team get so committed to trying to get better every step of the way, playing all the time, you know, taking advantage of all the resources out there, like Corey's videos and stuff, and watching matches, getting scrims in, playing 12-mans. Riley Staffer's a beast and keeps getting better, can play any class. You know, it's a really, really tough call for me to make on any map, because Moose Knuckle with their best players, like, that sounds like a tough team to me. Duality, when he plays, is dropping bombs, and so is
he's
Quack
really
Duck.
tough.
Yeah, like those are just plain good players under any circumstances. And CIS would have to have their A game to like match up with somebody like a Duality and a Quack Duck and an OS going off and getting, you know, 70 kills apiece, no matter what the other three do. So, but because I think there's a Cinderella story in order here, I'm going to go with CIS to take this in like a barn burner of a match. Like, I think it's going to be like very, very, very close. Like a single digit win, no matter the map. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Just with the way CIS has been playing recently, they've gotten like absolutely scary, with skill level and stuff. That's who I would pick too.
I think CIS is gonna blow Moose Knuckles out of the water.
Yeah. It's completely possible, honestly. Like CIS, I'd say from start to finish in this season have been the most improved team and set of players. Like
I was playing the other day, and I was like, these guys should be in gold.
I think I was ringing for you at the time. Like,
yeah, right. Like they are really good, both individually and the way that they've come together as a team. So it's a tough task to play these guys.
And anyone who can that's a brutal season for them too, to try to learn they were thrown into the deep end. You know what I mean? And then they just kept swimming. Like they just kept going and going and going. Like that, it shows a lot of character and a lot of a grit to be able to do that. Because there were some blowouts there that are hard on the ego, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But they kept with it and they've really improved. It's cool to watch. I agree with you. It's been fun to watch them.
Yeah, they are, I think, like one of the coolest stories coming out of season 2 now. So it would be, I look forward to seeing them hopefully get to play another few matches here, in a best case scenario 4. Like that would be awesome if they could get to the finals and then make a push in a best of 3 all the way to the end. But yeah, pretty unanimous on the side of CIS there again too. So that is the Silver B side of things for their technically semifinals. Moving on over to the Silver A playoff side of things. Let's see what we got here. So technically it's just one match. This is the play-in, like quarterfinals, whatever you want to call it, the play-in. It's Sleepers No-Go, and this one has like a lot of background to it. These guys play each other a lot and have since the beginning of season 1. Like they are scrim buddies, they're friends. Pretty much any time that you check out a friends list and who's in game, you'll probably see Sleepers and No-Go scrimming each other, which is awesome. Sleepers is very much like
Sleepers
CIS.
has beat No-Go twice this season.
Yeah, yep. Right? On the same night, no less, too. So they've got that hanging over the top of them, too, which is tough. That's tough to come back on when a team has had your number like that, not just once. Like when it's once, you can kind of chalk it up to a number of things, the map, one person's performance, whatever. But when it's like multiple times on very different maps, it starts to feel like, like can we take these guys? But No-Go, I believe, was missing Spoon for that, if I recall correctly. I guess I could check. It might take me a second because
I'd have to find the screenshots.
Yeah, I'll zoom on through the screenshots list, but it's a very, very close matchup, and they know each other so well. They know the strengths and weaknesses of one another. They know what maps each team prefers to play on, and what maps each one of those players will be good on. Oh yeah, it looks like No-Go didn't have Spoon, so that's
Spoon.
Yeah.
How about for the Thunder match? No Spoon either?
Nope, no Spoon. Nope, no Spoon. So,
he's probably like their best.
Yeah.
He's definitely their best heavy. He's like one of their best players, I think.
Yeah, I think the stats back that up too. Like he is their leading fragger and everything. And having that as a heavy, like in this day and age, this game is very much rifle and sniper dominated. The heavies, like really big X factor difference maker heavies, are few and far between. So when you can throw one of those out there, that's a really good start. And Sleepers have good heavies, in Chi and Matt. Matt, who came over from heavyweight, was a great pickup. I know Tony loved that pickup for Sleepers. No-Go getting Louis back. He left last season to go to T3, came back this season to him, and has done a great job. Played multiple classes, looked good sniping, looked good rifling. He can heavy, obviously. He top fragged against us heavying in a match, so it's such an even matchup. I have no idea what map they're going to play. Jared, do we know?
I don't think they decided on a map.
Okay. I mean, they could play anything.
I know that they're playing Monday.
It's a BO1.
It's a BO1.
Yeah.
I could probably see who's online here.
Yeah, I imagine somebody from one of those two teams will be on to be able to let us know if they know yet. I know
you could circle back to Fast Loris and Bedtime. They are playing Lennon.
They are playing Lennon. Oh, I think that really favors Fast Loris then, even more. their heavies look great on Lennon. So yeah, that might be like worse news for bedtime. Now I guess that's why Fast Lowers got to pick the map. They got to go with the one they really felt good on.
Yeah, Lennon's so heavy dependent too.
Yeah, and their heavy team. I mean, I think that both their heavies had like at maybe not 70, but like 67, 68 kills in their last time that they played it. Like they looked excellent on it, and that does not bode well for bedtime. Now they do have Luca, who's looked great on the heavy. Like I had never seen Luca play, I don't think, before until I watched the Railroad 1 match, Rail Yard, and Luca was just like standing SDG and guys all over the place. I was like, this is crazy. So that could be a little bit of an equalizer. But you know, just the whole bigger picture of like stealth running around with a sniper rifle on a map that he would probably call one of his favorites. You know, Laura has always been a really good Lennon rifle on either route. Famously has that one double movie clip pushing up well on Lennon with a car from a frag of the week. That clip is crazy. Like I'm still jealous of that clip. You know, just a lot of good seasoned Lennon players. Like I think that Railroad might have been a little bit more serviceable to try to like work some ninja caps maybe and then just play defense. With Lennon, it's just like just blasting heads into each other and heavies going off. Like that map is so tailored towards heavies being able to get a million kills, you know, like you put a heavy on that map that knows how to play Lennon and just like pre-fire this angle, that's where they are all the time. Just it's such a heavy catered map, and I don't see bedtime now being able to match up with Fast Loris heavies at all.
And Chi has confirmed they will be playing Harrington.
Harrington, interesting. That is the one map. Yeah, I haven't seen them play each other on that in a match. I think I've seen every other map them play against one another too. Interesting. Harrington. Okay, so sleepers no-go Harrington. Man, sniper-wise, you got Burn up against, I don't know who. Is it Dedro?
God, yeah, you wish that Blue would play or Lurfool.
Yeah, right? One of the two.
Lurf back.
That would be huge. If they could get a hold of him, like that could be a big difference maker for them on a map like Harrington. Just having that real rock-solid force in middle where like, oh, we know that he's not going to over-push. We know he'll be in mid-house. We know he'll be an upper connector, always kind of overlooking everything and hanging on to it. You know, no matter who else is alive. Obviously, like they have other guys who can snipe. Louis did it really well on Thunder, and Dedro's done it really well a couple times. Matthew can do it as well. I think that he did snipe on Harrington the last time they played. That would be week 1, which is going to be crazy for me to go back and try to find, but I will.
Dedro's such a nice rifle, though. You'd hate to get him off of it.
Yeah, and same with Matthew. Like they're both really good rifles.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's tough to ask those guys to take a sniper rifle on a map that's just really annoying to have to snipe on for anybody.
Sniper's hard for rifles because it's an extra step.
Yeah. You really have to, stop and scope in and everything. And
besides Spoon, it looks like Dedro was their second top fragger.
Oh yeah, you're right.
For the Harrington match.
Yeah, I just found the screenshots. It looks like Matthew did snipe on Harrington. Yeah. Oh, that's right. I don't know if you remember that, J-Rod. We were watching him, and he was going long on allies with the sniper a lot.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So that's interesting. Maybe
what was Dedro doing? Was he carring?
Carring, yeah, okay. Yeah. I think he carred and garanded long.
So I'm assuming they're going to have Apple here.
Yeah, probably. In place of Yanni.
Right.
Because, yeah, Yanni actually did rifle that week. It was Spoon on a heavy with Fincher. Now, I don't know. They actually had dual
Spoon and
40s.
Fincher would be pretty nice having
that is, yeah.
At Mountain. I would like that a lot for no-go.
I think that would be a big help for them because Matt and Chi are excellent heavies together. And Matt, I know, is in particular very good at Harrington. Fincher and Spoon in that week that they played in heavy together on Allied side, Spoon was 43-17 and Fincher was 40-23. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a hell of a heavy performance right there. Axis side, not so much.
They got Mountain lockdown.
Right, yeah. That's like if they can throw those two out there on the heavy together, that is going to go a long way. And then
I don't believe Fincher. Fincher's more of that 3 to 4 East player.
Oh yeah. So probably not then for that match. That's unfortunate for them.
That's a bummer.
So who might? I mean, they could, I guess, maybe have Louis on that second heavy, which just as good realistically. If you're going to put like Dedro on a rifle, Matthew on a sniper, and Apple on another rifle. and then Sapphire on the third, I think, right?
I wish we knew. It seems like they switch around so often that like I don't even know.
I'm totally speculating based on
like is Dedro sniping or is Matt gonna snipe? We don't even know.
Total toss up.
They both sniped, so
yeah. Like I'm only guessing Matthew because that's who they used in week 1 on Harrington, but like that could have just been for a specific reason that week.
Yeah.
He can rifle and he can heavy, so like maybe they're planning on using him there. I don't know. Sleepers, we have a pretty good idea of who it's going to be and where they're going to be, and like that team is just very, very rock solid. Chi and Matt on the heavies, Van Aki on a rifle, LZL on a rifle, Zaps on a rifle. Zaps will be holding mid house and mid in general, and then Burn on the sniper, been great all season, is switching off his third rifle light class. Sleepers have had some really good matches on Harrington. They got to play against I was going to call them Division Viking, the old European team, DreamWorks, DW, which was, DW was very, very, hadn't played in like a long time. Of course, Rods was still a beast. But they won 358 to 216 in that match. Matt had 38 on an STG going Mountain. Wow.
That's unreal.
Oof. And what about Allied's side of things? Van Aki had 36 on the Garand, LZL had 36 on the Garand, and Matt had 30 more on the bar, while Rods had 76 total kills in his first match back after not scrimming at all. What a boss. He's not on Sleepers, though, unfortunately for Sleepers, because that would make them very, very more dangerous. Man, I don't know. There's so many question marks around no-go, and Sleepers are so like really just rock solid with one another. Like we know what to expect from them.
Yeah, they're a really good teamwork team as well. Like they've been playing together for a long time, and they
scrim a lot
super
too.
Solid team. Yeah,
right.
They've been one of our main scrim partners the whole time, and they're also the main scrim partners, I think, of no-go and a lot of other people. Like they scrim a lot.
They do. I love that. That's like, especially in a playoff setting where things are really intense, those are the kind of things that make a difference, having those reps and having that muscle memory when things get like really tense and it's all on the line. And just them all knowing like what their job is, playing their same routes, their same classes can make a big difference on its own too. So, I mean,
who are we going with here?
I think I got to go with Sleepers in a close match, but that's because I don't know No-Go's roster. There are rosters No-Go could put out there that I think they can win for sure, but I don't know that they have any chance of putting those rosters out because like Lerf doesn't seem to be around. Like Fincher, it sounds like can't really play at that time. Yanni, we know, can't really play this week.
That's the Yanni's definitely out.
I think so, if he's on vacation.
I know he's on vacation, but he might still be able to play. I'm not 100% sure.
He's one of their best players.
Yeah, and he can play anything. So like whatever they need, he can slot into that spot. If they could throw like that specific kind of lineup out there with one or two variations on it, that's a different story. But it doesn't seem like they have any real chance of doing it. So I gotta go with the boys and the Sleepers there. No-Go will fight hard no matter what, and Spoon will probably get 80 kills on the heavy because he's a beast. Like that's just what he does, I guess. But I think Sleepers, with all that experience together and that teamwork side of things and their consistency, I think they'll end up pulling it off in a say 80 points, 60 to 80 points.
Yeah, I think
I'm gonna go No-Go here.
Oh.
I think No-Go's got him.
All right.
On Harrington. Apple's going to drop like 80 kills again.
I like it.
If Apple can go crazy like he did last week, I think No-Go. It's just like, I feel like there's not too much teamwork on Harrington. You just got to frag. And if they can just out-frag Sleepers, even though Sleepers has that teamwork advantage, I think. But if they can just out-frag them, I think No-Go will pick up a win here.
That is true.
I think Coach Bombay is going to be boot camping them.
Yeah. So. I would think he would for this. They will be prepared. Corey, what do you think as an old No-Go player too?
Yeah. I kind of agree with you, Corey, in that if a certain roster, No-Go definitely pull out a win. But I think just as it sits, I think Sleepers has the advantage. Although I want to root for No-Go.
Right. It's hard to pick against them. It really is. they're such a good batch of people. Like, I love all the people on No-Go, and sleepers for that matter. Like, it's no secret I'm always rooting for sleepers. But in this case, just with so many question marks over the No-Go lineup in particular, I got to go with sleepers to take it. So, but J-Rod just might be the one to pull it over our asses here and end up coaching these guys to a victory with Coach Bombay too. I know J-Rod's in with those people. I was going to say the boys again, I stopped myself because Sapphire is on that team. It's just a habit with me.
It's the guys and gals.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I hope it's a good match, and it will be because those teams know each other so well. And Monday it is, so I'll definitely be casting that because I'm guessing it'll be the only match of the day. Good luck to both teams. I love both those teams. It's going to suck no matter who wins, no matter who loses. It's going to be a bummer that one of them's out, but, that's the playoffs for you. And that's the only quarterfinals matchup in Silver A. So we just got the gold situation to get into now as my phone is down to, oh boy, 2%. So we've got the 4-5, which is ICOP PMC, which was a very close match.
That's on Lennon.
That's on Lennon. Ooh, interesting. And then typical over. Do we know what that is?
Judging by an educated guess, I'm going to say Harrington.
Okay, that makes sense to me too. So starting with ICON and PMC, these teams did play each other, and where is it?
This is CK's best map.
Yes, it is.
I will say this.
It is. They
Makes
have
sense with all the nades.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
It does really cater to him. They played on Halley, and PMC won by 4 points. That was one of those games.
Wow.
That's so rough. This is obviously not Halley. It's Lennon. But this is also a map that I feel like on the Icy outside of things, like you got Matt and Jesse in apartments or Bs, like whichever heavy team they take out of those three, because they seem to swap each of them back and forth between heavying and thirding, depending on the map. I think last time they played, Lennon Bs was thirding along, and it was Jesse and Moders in apartments. So just guessing that's the case.
Heavies on this map are so important.
Yeah.
They're involved with 3 different areas. They're
Right.
involved with long, they're involved with the apps, they're involved with the well. They're very important for this map.
Yep. They are the crux of everything on Lennon. And they're kind of the spearhead of pushes for capouts too, getting into blue room on allies and spraying down that spawn. It's so elementary for a heavy. Like the muscle memory of coming out of blue room and spraying at a spawn by this point, after all the times we've done it. Like even for me in my sleep, it's just like that's 3 kills to me. That's you get a heavy that can get up into blue room. It's just like a free multi-kill every time. And that's, I think, the key in this matchup above all else, because like rifle-wise, you got the Pintos going up against each other and well, which will be, it's always fun. That's a fun matchup, having brothers playing against one another. Vertex obviously has been a stud all season for Icy Hot. I think he ended up 2nd in kills or 3rd. Been putting up huge numbers all the time. And Corey is just a nuisance on Lennon to anybody who has to play against that guy on that map. I can't stand going well against him. And he probably would know what his brother's tending to do more than anybody else. And then on top of that, PB for PMC, like just a freak of nature mechanically. Obviously both those guys do tend to die a lot, but on a map like Lennon, that's not really a bad thing. If you're taking those risks, if it pays off just like 2 out of every 10 times to try to do it, that can be enough to push it over the edge. And then the long matchup, you got Paul up against Austin. That's kind of a wash. They're both great.
I think it's really tight.
Yeah.
Right there. I
would not be able to pick between those 2 guys,
Jesse is Kanga, right?
Yeah, Kanga. Yep, and that's I think where the difference maker comes in for me. Like I could see things going either way on the long side of things and on the well side of things, but I think in apartments, the way that whether it's Bees and Kanga or Bees and Modgers or Modgers and Kanga, they all work so well together. They've been playing together so much. Like I'd say Icy Out is one of the most active teams in gold. We've scrimmed against them a lot, and their heavies are a pain in the ass to play against, no matter which 2 it is. If you put Bees in there with Matt, say, like Matt will play more passive, Bees will go and just out-aim you to death everywhere and get pushed up to your first flag and be a thorn in your side, and then you kill him, and you got either Matt or Kanga just kind of like hanging out in a pocket somewhere waiting to shoot you when you try to get any more apartments control back. It's tough. It's tough to deal with that. Whereas for like Nine and Craw, they both have very similar play styles. When they get going on Lennon, they can be a pain in your ass. But I think that mixture, like you kind of will know what to expect more out of both Nine and Craw, because they play a little bit more passive and for map control versus like a Bees who will like try to just like stuff it down your throat coming out of Blue Room. If Nine and Craw start to play a little bit more aggressive and take the fight to them a little bit more, that could throw them off, like with their tempo and everything like that. But if they just kind of do the same thing they're doing, going through the motions, like throwing the same nades, get up into Blue Room, peek the right side, like you're just going to get pre-fired by a bar, nades are going to come flying into the cubby, rinse and repeat. That's tough to really overcome on this map, because if you don't have apartments control, everything else falls with it, and then you're just getting trapped at your first flag on either side. So for me, that's the key, is Nine and Craw have to really like bring that A game.
They're going to have to have the game of their lives.
Yeah, they got to come out flying against this heavy team. If they can do that, like that will, I think, just bring everybody else on the team up with them.
Yeah, I trust Element and Paul Kuhn.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's like Element has been, again, one of the rare like third rifle lockdown guys who's just great at that role. And Icy Yacht hasn't had a set third rifle. They've been rotating between their heavies and thirds. But yeah, to me, that's the big turning point of the map is the heavies. And I would have to give the edge to Matt and Kanga, or Bees and Kanga, or Bees and Matt in that battle, just based off of past performance.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Like Icy Hot's heavies definitely have advantage in there. I think that if Paul's Money Crew sends like say a paintball apartments, that could be super deadly for Icy Hot. But at the same time, Icy Hot could run Kanga and Matt and Bees apartments. So like they could definitely balance each other out. It just depends on how they want to play it. But I think Paul's Money Crew's rifles, maybe even the sniper, probably has an advantage over Icy Hot. But the heavies are the key to Lennon, so that's going to be a really tough match.
Right, it is. You're so right too that it would be an interesting potential strategy to send that car apartments on Axis. Like somebody like Paintball who has heavied in his career and been good at it, so he knows that route, the angles, everything. Like it's also muscle memory on Lennon apartments, because there's only so many places you can be. It's like you send a car that way who knows how to play that route. They can really open things up to get those heavies pushed up. Or even if you want to just send a car with a heavy and have your other heavy pick up an Unter and go well, the Unter on well can be really deadly in the right hands.
No, absolutely.
It's frustrating playing against an Unter on well who's having a good game and just playing like positional DOD on you, where you can't just like come out pre-firing those same spots a rifle would be holding, because now it's a guy with an Unter. He can just be like crouched at an off angle pre-firing you as soon as you come around the corner. Like it's tough to deal with that. So, if PMC can find a way to change that pace up a little bit, I think that would be the key to them being able to find a way to win. But I just think, just looking at it straight up, like default Lennon style, I would give the advantage to Icy Hot's heavies, and therefore overall just the match in general. I think it'll end up being another close one, just like the first match. But I'd say I'm going with Icy Hot by say like 55-60. J-Rod, what do you think?
I think you're right on the money. I think it'll be tight. I think CK and Paintball will cause havoc well.
Oh yeah.
And but I just think the heavies are too strong on Icy Hot. So I by like a cap or two, I think Icy Hot will win by.
Oh yeah. Corey?
That's kind of where I'm swinging to, but I'm going to predict for Paul's Money Crew on the off chance that they send a rifle into apartments and they can kind of hold apartments against the strong part of Icy Hot. And I don't know, it's going to be so close no matter what. I mean, Bees is so smart, Vertex is smart. Like I love the Bear and Sick. Modgers is super smart. Oh man, this is going to be really tough. I probably Icy Hot, but I'm gonna go with Paul's Money Crew just to be the third man out.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I mean, it is. We've already seen it when they've played each other once. It was 4 points. Like they're very evenly matched,
and by like less than 20.
Yeah. I'd say like no matter what, this is going to be one of those matches that comes down to like one well-timed cap out at some point, just being the difference maker. But yeah, it's like I mean, it's so hard to pick. The only reason that I could say with any confidence about ICEAT is just assuming that PMC just goes straight up, like sending their heavies apartments again, and they just keep doing what they would normally do and both playing kind of passive. I think that Icy Hat would know how to exploit that. But if they throw a curveball, that could make the difference. If PB comes out and has a crazy match like he's been known to do, that could be the difference maker. Paul and Element on long are really tough to play against, as me and J-Rod can attest to. We just had to do it.
Nomis is no slouch, though.
Right, yeah, and Austin does
I
like
could see
Lennon.
him counter Paul in some ways.
Yeah.
Does he like Lennon?
He does,
I didn't think there was any snipers that like Lennon, but you know, Stealth likes Lennon, Nomis likes Lennon.
They're the only two, I feel like, in the world, because I hate it. And I think for them, it's because they like to play a little bit more aggressive and like get pushed up into apartments on Axis side or get to like long steps in L Hall on allies, whereas like, I get there and I get naded, and then I just never want to try again. So I just give up on it.
I know Patton loads Lennon.
Nick hates that map. He and I are the same thing where we're just complaining the whole time we're having to snipe Lennon long. Like, it's just not fun. There's nothing to do half the time. Your heavies are getting all the kills, and like then you think like they died, and then like, one heavy jumps across at swing door, and the sniper peeks behind him and kills you because you just shot through the guy who jumped across. Like, that's how it always goes.
Yeah. Like the double up.
Yeah, like the jump peek to bait your shot, and then the sniper's right behind him, and you're like, shit, I shouldn't have shot at the first guy. Now I'm dead. It's so frustrating. But yeah, that's going to be a really, really close match. I look forward to that one. But yeah, me and J-Rod said Iceac course at PMC. I have no idea who's going to be right on this one. The next one and the last one for the day is the 3 versus 6 seed, which is typical versus over. I mean, the guess is that this is going to end up on Harrington.
Harrington, right?
Yeah, I think that makes sense for these two teams to have the pick ban go that way. You look at the map rotation. Over will probably take out Railroad 2. Typical will probably take out Lennon. Neither of them would mind playing Anzio. So I think that would... then again, I think Over would be more likely to ban Anzio than Typical. I think Typical would be more likely to ban Thunder. Over would ban Thunder.
I think Over would ban Thunder.
Yeah, and then Typical. So on Harrington, with the lineup the way it is, I think they would love to play Harrington with Milo.
I love that. The team owner long.
Yeah.
Solos long. Like, you don't have to worry
just
about him.
So well.
He's unreal long.
Yeah.
So I like Typical on Harrington.
Yeah.
If they can get it for sure.
Right. I think that makes sense for the veto to play out that way.
If I were Over, I would try to get Thunder.
I think that's a good
play Thunder really well.
Yeah.
And they have that sort of play style that could really hold on to mid.
I want to say that this team doesn't like Thunder for some reason. I remember them, I could be wrong, but I remember them not scrimming this map often. Over.
I see.
Oh, really?
I don't think they like it.
They might not,
wrong, but
they really like Lennon.
I think they would get rid of it.
Interesting. I mean, that could be, I guess, how it ends up on Harrington, realistically. So I think that's the part of the pick ban that I'm less sure about. Like, the first round, definitely. Over's going to ban Railroad 2. Typical's going to ban Lennon. No one wants to play Over on Lennon. And Over doesn't like Railroad 2, and you just saw Typical play us.
Definitely don't like Railroad 2.
Yeah. So I think that's for sure. The next 3 becomes a little bit more of a mystery, but I could see it ending up on Harrington, or I could see it ending up on even Anzio, maybe. I think both teams would be okay with playing Anzio. I think those are the most likely options. But going with it, saying it's Harrington, it will probably end up being wrong just because we're going to do this pretending it's Harrington.
Yeah.
But Typical is such a well-rounded team. Now, Over, I'm just going to assume, because I saw him in Discord today getting ready to scrim, that Over has Caffrey, which makes it a very different team. Yeah.
Yeah, they need him.
They need him so bad. You need that anchor heavy. Kumkum can then fall back to playing a little bit more passive, trying to get his hands on some rifles, holding on to spots with his aim, and let Caffrey go run around and be crazy. And then for Typical, you got Frank, you got Milo, you got Nightmare, you got Colin. And then you got 4 different guys basically that they've been having, like Cage, Manor, Baron, Die Life, swapping in and out of all those spots. Obviously no Scotty. But just so much talent on that team, no matter who they put in. I
like Greets versus No Name mid.
Yeah.
It's a really good matchup.
That is a great matchup. You got Mata and No Name versus Frank and Nightmare.
Dang, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that's a clash of the Titans.
Both teams kind of have like 3 or 4 S tier players, and the rest is all A tier players.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, that's a good matchup.
Great role players. Like, I mean, and every time it seems like whoever fills in on Typical's team, they end up like Baron dropped like it was a 40 bomb on PMC heaving against Crowd and 9 last season when he filled in for them. Like, I think he ended up with like 70 kills total heavying against PMC on Lennon. Just his one chance to get in and play with a heavy, he goes off. Manor had a great game on, I think it was Shamil when he came in and heavied. Die Life had a great game on Railroad 2 last season when he got in. Like, these guys, well, whoever gets to play always seems to step up to the occasion. And obviously Cage has predominantly just started for them. He seems to be going in and out lately, like they've been trying to rotate a little bit, but I imagine they'll have him just start and heavy. Or they could have him third, realistically, and have Manor as another heavy, or Baron. You know, like, I don't know. But
yeah, it could be. No idea.
Yeah, but all of them are going to pretty much play the same kind of game and at the same kind of level. Well, they will just do exactly what you need them to do on that role. So, like, I don't think it'll make too much of a difference which one of them they have in that spot. Whereas for over, assuming, again, you know, Caffrey, No Name, Saka, Jizz, Mata, and Kum, rock solid. Caffrey is a huge, huge difference maker on that team. And on Harrington in particular, so interestingly, just occurred to me, we actually had this matchup. Right there, Typical versus Over. Oh, my phone's definitely about to die. So Typical won 343 to 297. Yeah.
That's one cat. That's
very close. Yeah. And I remember this, I casted this, I think it was the first cast of the season. Milo, in his first match back, he hadn't played in like 4 or 5 months since G-Skill had died. And he comes back his first match back, gets 77 kills on the heavy. No Name has 79 kills. They were going back and forth on each other. It was crazy. Crazy match.
Top frags and top flags.
Yeah.
Slot Greets in there for one of them.
Right, yeah.
Or Scotty, I guess.
Right, yeah. Just straight up for Scotty there. And then you got the lineup 312 to 304 on the kills. The flags were super close. The KD was super close. Everything was so close.
Very close.
You know, Over tends to die a little bit more than Typical does, just in general. Like, their players a little more aggressive. Caffrey, 55 kills. Saka had a little bit of a down game kill total wise, but still, you know, nothing to slouch at.
If you slot in Cum for Raven,
yeah,
you know, so that's interesting too.
Right, that is another one that brings things back around a little bit more for Over. Jizz going long. I mean, he can solo long in that same way, but I would favor Teemo again in this matchup since already that happened. 54 and 46 he did in the first one, 43-44 for Jizz. So it was a little bit of a wash, but Team Owner, I mean, he's so good at playing that anchor long role, which I would hate doing personally, but he loves it. He wants 2 guys against him long.
Yeah, I hate soloing long. I think it's just the worst.
I
play too aggressively.
You have to play.
Yeah,
you have to play very slow.
It definitely caters to
that. He'll do that, and I think he'll do fine doing it.
Yeah, and he has obviously great nades, which helps make a big difference too. You can clear out certain common, you know, camping spots that way, and you can support mid without having to like run back around to the mid steps.
Yeah,
that goes a really long way, which is another big X factor for them in holding mid. The fact that if their mid team dies, so long as team owner is still alive on Axis side long, he can break that shit with no problem. Mountainside. So you got Caffrey and Kum up against, hypothetically, say, Milo and Cage.
Or Manor.
Yeah, or even Baron. But I think Baron will probably... Oh, well, I guess we're slotting... we're slotting Frank in here. So, yeah, probably Manor or Cage on the heavy.
Yeah.
Baron, I think, with third rifle more often than not. Even though he did have, like, a crazy game heavying Lennon against PMC. That was just a kind of a one-off, I think, with him heavying. Nightmare versus Mata, you got to give it to Nightmare. He's the best sniper in the game. It doesn't matter who is on the other side of this. You're going to give it to Nightmare. No Name versus Frank. That is so tough.
That's super tough.
Yeah, like, come on. It's fucking No Name and Greets. No Name obviously had the most kills in the regular season and has a case to be called, like, the best player in the league.
I feel like No Name's best route is long Lennon, but you can make the argument it's middle Harrington.
Right, it's definitely right there. I hate playing against them.
They're not that far off either. Like Greets is 7th on the KTPR and No Name's 2nd, which is big. But that's, I mean, it's 1.37 versus 1.30. That's not a huge difference.
No.
You know?
that's probably like 4 flags and like, 6 frags or something when it all gets boiled down. It's not much. It's very much interchangeable. I don't think anybody, if you told anybody you could have no name or greets and then they're like, never mind, you can't have no name, I don't think anybody would be disappointed to have greets instead.
No.
That's fine with me. So like, that makes it tough because you got to take Nightmare there. They're kind of a wash, so I think I'd favor them a little bit more mid. The thing is that a lot of times Over will just send Sokka mid too. Like they'll just have 3 guys going mid all the time. That could maybe help, but that also might just feed Nightmare more food. A little more target practice for him. Sokka's still a beast, but Nightmare has a 1-7 KD ratio. I don't suspect he's going to go dying more than 50 times in this match. Man, I don't fucking know. Like my brain and heart want to say Typical since I've been so on this Typical worst to first thing since day one. But at the same time, I've played against Over on Harrington a lot and hated every second of it. And knowing that they're going to maybe have Caffrey back this week is another, like, that could be that injection they needed to find that A game and bring the fight. They almost beat T3 in the playoffs on this map last season. It was like I think it was like a 24-point game. I could double check it. I'll probably end up being wrong about that point total.
I think I would predict that Typical would win.
Going with Typical?
I think they are better with their teamwork than Over is.
I think
feel like
so.
Over is just fragging.
They are.
I feel like whenever I play them, it's like I'm in a DM.
It right? That's what it feels like. They don't get on mid a lot of the time when no one else is alive.
Yeah, like I think Typical will be better at making sure they cap stuff. Not that this is like this like I was saying earlier, this is not a huge teamwork map,
right?
But I just think I would edge it to Typical. If I had to pick one, I think I'd pick Typical. That's what I'm gonna pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think I lean towards Typical too. I gotta stick with the Typical worst to first thing. I think that with that Nightmare and Frank team and then getting support from whoever else, whether it be Timo or Baron, Die Life, whoever, I think that they can kind of find a way to overwhelm No Name and Sokka and Mata if that should end up being what they do.
I think Nightmare is just so good sniping. Yeah. I don't think Mata can stand up to that guy.
Most people can't, it's just, he's so tough. Like you can get the first shot off him and it goes right through him a lot of the time. So you're just dead then anyways. Even if you won the battle that time, sometimes the game just decides you lost the battle and you lose.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to say Typical too, but I think it'll be another heartbreaker for Over, just like the T3 quarterfinals match last season where they lost by within a cap, say like 25-30. I think No Name will have a huge game, but, just Typical will end up overwhelming them with that teamwork side of things and having timely pushes, timely double cap attempts, timely flanks and breaks and stuff. I think Typical is going to take it. What about you, Core?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I love Cum and Mata, and those guys are really awesome. But I think Typical's going to be pushing for flags and cap outs, and I would say Typical by maybe 2 cap outs even.
Yeah. It's tough. Like, I mean, it sucks sometimes when it gets to playoffs because it's like these are all the best teams, obviously. And, obviously in this community, we all know each other very well. So it's not like we don't know these guys. Over is an awesome bunch of dudes, and so is Typical. This is a tough matchup for anybody against Typical, and Over could pull it off. Like, you have No Name, who is the most explosive player in the game right now, and he can carry you at any given point in time, but looking at it just from a full team versus team standing, you got to go with Typical in this matchup. On any map, I'd say, besides maybe Lennon.
Yeah, even like Greets and Milo alone is one thing, but plus Nightmare and and if it's Harrington, team owners unreal.
Yeah.
Very good at long. So yeah.
That's rough. I wish they would have had Scotty, would make them a little stronger. But that's a sad situation.
Yeah.
But...
Right, that is so unfortunate the way that all worked out. Now they got that added in too for what they're playing for. They wanna bring the title home for Scotty, so Typical probably has a little bit of extra motivation going on within that team right now on top of everything else. And they got so like 3 really premier players on 3 different classes. That's tough to compete with for anybody.
Yeah.
And it sounds like unanimous for Typical, but it's going to be a fun one to watch.
It's going to be a close one.
Yeah. No idea when that'll be. Obviously, when we find out, I'll be posting about it all over the place. But yeah, I think that does it. How long do we end up going? Oh boy, this is the longest one yet. It's fine though. No one.
All right.
We talked about a lot of stuff, so 2.5 hours, whatever. This is what happens every time. I swear to God. It's okay. That's what we're here for. We
had a lot of makeup matches to talk about.
Yes, that's true too. We had literally twice as many matches to recap on top of everything else. So yeah, I think that is it for today. Thank you so much for being here, Corey. It was fun to talk to you. Obviously, we've known each other for decades now. So.
Oh yeah, we're part of the Corey gang.
Yep. Well, all we need is Corey samples. We got Corey Pinto. Corys are everywhere, man. Insom is Corey too. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's at least 5 now. There's probably a couple others that we don't even know about. Like their first name is Corey and we never knew. I love it. The old Corey gang.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun.
Thanks. It was fun.
And you too, J-Rod. Thanks for being here today in lieu of Tony, obviously.
Trying to fill in for Tony.
You're doing a good job. You pulled it off. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody who's watching and stuck around for the 150 minutes that we ended up going today. We're trying to set records here on the Dodcast. We'll see you guys next week. Everyone tune into these playoff matches because they're going to be ridiculous. And yeah, good luck to everybody who's playing in the playoffs. Let me know when you're playing. I'll cast your matches, so long as it's not when I'm playing. Wait, this week I don't play at all, so actually I can cast all of them. Just let me know. Take care, everybody. Have a good rest of your week. Love you guys. KTP. Peace.